Okay, I'd like to reconvene to the regular meeting at 6:35 p.m. And we have nothing to report out the post session report because we will be going back to closed session after the meeting. And so we can now move to the patriotic exercise. Audrey and Kinsey would like to come up.
Hi, my name is Audrey Kinsey, and I'm a fifth grader. I don't know if it is.
Should be.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Audrey Kinsey, and I'm a fifth grader at Hoover Elementary School. My favorite subject is history because I can learn things about the past. I also like writing because I can create stories and entertain others. Now, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic.
Audrey, would you like to come up and take a picture? Audrey and I go way back. My daughter plays soccer with her. She babysat my dog before.
Okay, so look right here. 1, 2, 3. Get one more. 1, 2, 3. Don't move. Fall.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you just got really into it.
Okay, roll call. Trustee Long?
Here.
Trustee DeBoy?
Here.
Trustee Brown?
Here.
Trustee Kendall? Present. Would anyone like to, actually, I would like to make an approval of the agenda with an amendment. I'd like to move the bond oversight committee up to before consent. And
President Mudd, I have a change that I would like to make. I'm asking the board to full vote the second interim, which is 18I. The public hearing for the BEA 23-24 salary increase, which is 18J. And the tentative agreement for BEA 23-24, 18K from tonight's agenda. In reviewing the AB 2756 forms, our public disclosure, we became aware that there was a clerical error in our second interim. To be specific, the error overstated revenue and expenditures that need to be corrected. The county office also suggested that we include the 7% salary increase in our multi-year projections, and they are currently not in there. We will make the necessary changes and bring it back to the next meeting. I spoke with BEA President Danny Bird to let him know of the situation and that I would be making the request tonight.
okay. So I've made a motion with anyone.
Second.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
I thought I wanted to make sure I heard everything that you were changing to the agenda before we motion to approve it.
The bond oversight committee to right after consent.
Before consent, okay?
Right, yes.
Are we moving something about keys?
That's on. When we get to consent, right?
Yes.
Did we want to remove the keys from the consent agenda?
Right, you can move it now or later.
Okay.
We're not doing it, it's someone in the public.
Okay. Sorry about that. Thank you for the
Okay.
clarification.
Okay. Okay, so we've approved the agenda with amendments. Would anyone? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll move on to approval of minutes from February 15th, 2023.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from February 15, 2023.
Would anyone like to second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public statements related to agenda items. What I have here,
Not quite yet.
are there public statements related to agenda items?
There are, and we will bring them up at that time of the agenda item.
Union statement from Burlingame Education Association.
Allison Rutherford.
Hey, Allison.
Brought some notes just so that. I'm Alice Rutherford. I teach fourth grade at Franklin, and I wanted to come here to represent BEA today. I wanted to talk about a couple of things first that we're doing at Franklin and just give us some time. We are starting, well, this connects to you guys too. We're starting to look into PLC and that learning practice. And we're gonna be doing a learning by doing book club with some Marla and some members of the board and Freedom Craft. I'm really excited about that. We've also had some of our staff attend professional development related to PLC recently. And we've seen a school that implements that teaching practice. And we're starting to implement it at our campus, which is really exciting. Just other things at Franklin, we had our art on display last month. The 5th grade, I saw Miss McQuaid's art in here now. It looks so good. We had our recent walk through the revolution, that interactive experience with the 5th graders, and it was amazing to see them dressed up and performing. We have a music showcase coming up soon for kids in 3rd grade, which is on the 23rd, so next Thursday. Really exciting. And then I just want to celebrate our PTA. They've done some amazing things. They're running a book fair, which is going really well this week. We have, thanks to them, the SF Opera has come. We've had Earth Capades come, and they're helping us set up our makerspace. So that's just some fun things going on at Franklin. More than anything, I think this was from all of our staff. We just wanted to celebrate our principal, who we love, and she's really a beloved leader, and she's really brought the community back in Franklin, which has been amazing. And I asked people for like attributes of what she's brought to our school, and it's really collaboration and laughter. So that's really nice. And then from BEA, I just wanted to say that things are going really well. We're really happy to show our support for Marla. Me personally, something that's really touched me and made me feel sort of like the community is going back to what I remember when I first started here about 10 years ago, is having those district grade level meetings brought back and having the chance to see everyone and reconnect as a district instead of just as our sites. That's been really positive. And then 2 other communications that we just want to like make sure are being heard is, you know, there is that sub shortage. It's been really tough on all of us. Some teachers are having to absorb kids into their classroom and cover really large class sizes. And I know the district has been helping out and giving some pay to pay, like not incentives, I'm not the word I'm picking up, but like helping pay so that it feels like, you know, the teacher's time is being valued and understanding that we're having to cover a lot, but still like nothing better than having your own class and having a smaller class size, and that would be really huge. So whatever we could do to get subs would be amazing. And then lastly, we just wanted to throw our support also behind PE and music teachers receiving tenure, because they're really important to our community. And those are 2 of the classes that I think students value in probably the most. Yes, reading and writing is important, but all of the skills that they learn, the life skills in PE, and then music being such a great emotional support. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And statement from our principal.
I'm going to be very real with you right now. I just got this sinking feeling inside because we've had no power for 4 days. And I totally forgot it was me, but I always have something to say. So thank you for having us here tonight. I guess I'll begin with that. I think it's been kind of a crazy week for a lot of us with the storms and all, including all of our families who haven't had power and have had to send their kids unshowered or whatever just to get to school. And I want to thank the district for all the support over the last week, trying to get everything there to us. Omar, I saw him for a second. He's been amazing. Him and his team have been running everywhere to support us. And he brought the coolest lights. I told my husband to need these at home. I mean, he's just been bringing so much stuff. So thank you, Omar, and your team. You've done a great job. Marla and Amanda visited all of our sites to make sure that we were okay. And we really appreciate that support in those times when we learn a lot, right, from the new things that happen. Tomorrow's the teacher work day. I think it's a very welcome day for teachers. I know it's one of their favorites. It's a chance for them to really catch up and get report cards done and spend time together. So I think they're really looking forward to that. I agree with so many things that Allison said, which always makes me feel good that we're kind of in line about what we're thinking. The grade level meetings have been very successful. I think we've heard that from all of our teachers. It's really an important part, and we're really bringing that back strong. Something we're doing as principals right now, which is interesting, is we're registering new families. Well, we're actually registering our old families, but we're registering new families. So it's a really interesting time of year at school, trying to get our numbers balanced based on who's coming and who we're currently have. And then also, like Allison said, there's so many activities going on that make us feel like it's normal again. Lots of assemblies, lots of field trips. The kids are super excited about it. Today we had an assembly called Earthcapades, sponsored by the city of Burlingame. So it's a collaborative with us and them. It was really great. It was all about water, which is super perfect for what we've been dealing with. So I don't know, it just feels like, and spring is even more of a time for that. So schools are coming alive, and I've always been, but they are even more so right now this time of year. So thank you for having us here tonight.
Thank you. Statement of Marla Silversmith, interim superintendent.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to our teachers and our staff, because the 4 days at Hoover without power and the day with Roosevelt without power, it's been a lot for everybody and our families. And the many messages that have gone out from all of us. And I want to acknowledge to everybody that has done the BIS VP interviews, the Washington principal interviews. It has been a lot, and we are moving along with hiring. We have done, I think, Mr. Paveo and Omni, 3 recruitment fairs for teachers already.
Fourth on Saturday.
4th one coming up this Saturday in Sacramento, right? Going to Sacramento. So continuing to go out and get the best and the brightest. Not many to hire this year because we have a lot of teachers coming back, which is super exciting. So we are moving forward with all of that. It has been an exciting time. All of the leprechauns will be coming to your houses this year, not to our schools. So that's been interesting, but it was fun walking around the sites this week with our CBO Bonnevert and seeing our teachers, but seeing all the leprechaun traps still being built in many classrooms, and our students getting excited to try and catch those pots of gold, or the leprechauns try and catch pots of gold. But on a serious note, I do want to say that we are very saddened by the events that have happened in our community over the last week. The incident that took place on the Samstrans bus is very disheartening to us, and it is not something that our community is going to take lightly. Right away, Principal Gilbert and myself, she reached out to the Samstrans, and we have gotten a group together. I think it's up to 15 people, and we are working to find a common time to meet with them in person and take it head on. So we are taking it extremely seriously. I know it feels a lot of this right now of who's in charge of what. There's a lot of agencies involved, but we are working to meet and come together and have some common conversations. So please know that that is extremely important to us. And Ms. Takis over here is working to ensure that we can get in the same room as soon as possible. It's not how we expect our students to act or anything to be happening. So please know that that is of extreme importance, and it's trying to get scheduled as soon as possible, including with both law enforcement agencies in the room. So I want to just talk about that first and foremost. We are also working as a district and sites to convene and talk about our plans, our communication plans, everything, to see what worked, what didn't work, and what we can do differently. We've heard a lot of feedback, we understand the feedback. We appreciated the feedback and we'll reflect on it. So there's things we're already changing. We are working to reinstate our safety committee to review some things that happened, to review our big 5 plans and see what we can alter to. So we've already been in contact to see about our student information systems, to see how we can better get in communication with our parents quicker. So please know that this is something that we understand and we are taking seriously. So I just want to say that from the core of the district office team and the site, like we hear you and we're working on it. It's very serious to us. So thank you for the outreach, and know that it's something that I think all of us have thought about since then and continue to think about. I want to thank the counselors that reorganized and our principals that understood when we called and said, hey, we need to borrow our shared staff for that day because we need more staff at the site. Thank you for allowing your counselors to stay. Thank you for allowing your counselors to come and move over and support. So it was a lot. It was a lot for our teachers at that site that day. It still is in supporting the staff. So thank you for all of that. And we'll continue to work to see where we can change and do stuff. So thank you. Let's see. I think that's what I have for today. Thank you.
Great, speaking of the board members, if it's okay, and do you mind if I go first today? I'm just gonna echo something that Marla just brought up. Interim Superintendent Silversmith spoke to the incident that took place with our middle schoolers last week. The fight on Sam's Strands was unacceptable. The fear that resulted from that fight led to an unsubstantiated gun scare the following day. It was a scary event for everyone involved: students, teachers, parents, principals. As Ms. Silversmith mentioned, there will be an immediate debrief with key leaders, principals, county sheriff, Sam Strand, city police, counselors, administrators, taking place to identify areas that we need to improve our safety procedures and plan. Our safety committee will immediately be reinstated. We are taking this very seriously as a chance for us to learn and to improve. We know our community is alarmed, and the safety and mental health of our students is our highest priority. We are prepared to examine and improve our practices and procedures immediately. Trustee Long, would you like to share a statement?
Okay, so seems like for a while I haven't been going to anything, but I have all these things for the past month. So I went to the city district liaison committee meeting, and Lisa was there as well. And we talked with the city about mental health, communication when there's emergencies in the city itself. We heard that they are planning to put in like a temporary speed bump on Alvarado, which is hopefully going to slow down all the speeding cars that come down there, mostly because of Mercy High School. But they said that it could benefit all the kids who are walking the Beaver as well, by reducing the danger of all those speeding cars. I went to the Jedi committee, and believe it or not, that was my first Jedi committee meeting, because every time it was my turn in the rotation, it'd get canceled for some reason. So it was actually really, like very like open and really good discussion. It was a lot of it was about just how do we engage our families and students that we've had a hard time historically reaching. And it was really good discussion. Lisa and I also went to the San Mateo County School Board Association kind of dinner, and that topic was on equity, and they actually had a school district from Santa Clara County, I think it was Campbell School District, come and talk about what they put in place in their district to address issues about surrounding equity. That was very interesting. I attended the API group that is supposed to include staff and also families and from Asian American Pacific Islander families in our district. It was not a lot of us were there, and it was all staff. But we're hoping that later on in the spring there can be like a family engagement event. So we're thinking about putting together something like that to bring families just to meet each other, build a community. And then Dan and I were at the Arbor Day celebration for the city, right? You were there, right? Okay, it does, and it was before all the trees fell down, so it was kind of just sad that it was Arbor Day. We planted trees at Murray Field, and then now these trees are under. But it was nice. They specifically had 3 trees that were anti-hate symbol trees. There's like a special meaning to each one. So see the new trees just when you drive up to Murray Field. It's right along the side. And then I walked through Roosevelt yesterday with Marla. So thank you, Matt, for the guided tour. And we're actually there to gloat about how, you know, the district office had electricity, but we didn't. But it turned on like a half hour before we showed up. So it looked great, and everyone was happy, and the heat was cranked up. I couldn't believe it. I was glad they had got their electricity back by then. And that was it.
Trustee DeVoy?
As Lauren said, we're at the Arbor Day event, and then also Owners Committee meeting in DLAC, both of which are presenting tonight, so I won't steal their thunder. And I just want to thank Omar for all his work getting the schools, keeping them going without power this week. That's a heavy lift. So thank you.
Yeah, I only wanted to say how proud I am of the district administration, staff, and teachers for keeping the schools open this week. I have friends in other parts of the Bay Area that lost power and closed the schools, so it's great that we kept ours open. Thank you, everyone.
And I'll echo what my other fellow trustees said, and I have nothing else to report. Okay. Now moving on to item 15, board communication. Board communication is attached to the agenda, and so we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a way to consolidate many items considered by the board to be routine business. These items often require approval, but do not need discussion. All trustees have reviewed the items in advance of the board meeting. Members of the board, staff, or public are able to request specific items to be discussed and removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda. The superintendent and staff recommend approval of all consent items. Movement of any suggested consent items is appropriate at this time. I have an item that I'd like to move from the consent agenda. It's 16A, the transportation plan. And is there anything else that needs to be coming from consent? All right. Do I need for 16, if I want to have something removed, do people need to be like voting on that, or can I just?
Yes, you'll need to get a vote on consent before that.
But do we have to public? Okay, you got it. All right, great. So public comment on the consent agenda. Do you have some that you'd like to read first?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, this one was submitted, as you know, we take comments via email up till noon the day of the board meeting. So these were submitted via email.
Do you have a microphone? We can put that portable one.
Okay, as you know, public comments can be submitted via email up till noon the day of the board meeting. So these were submitted via email. The first one is by Therese O'Keen. Dear School Board, I'm writing to voice my concern about the proposed change of principal at BIS, which will impact our school next year. I was very disappointed to learn that Erica Gilbert would not be returning next year. I have very much enjoyed working with Erica and feel that she has been a warm and supportive leader to the staff, students, and parents. Erica maintains a cheerful presence around the school and is always available to discuss issues and plan events. I would urge the board to refuse Erica's resignation so that she can continue her good work. The next public comment is submitted by Susan Bosnich. Burlingame School Board, I have been a teacher at BIS for 22 years. The staff at BIS is thriving like it hasn't in years, and it is due to our principal, Erica Gilbert. We have a principal who supports students and teachers alike. She cares for every person on campus, listens to our needs and concerns, and continuously works to make BIS a better place. She is very easy to communicate with and has an open door policy. Why would the DO dismiss her when 95% of the BIS staff want her to remain? Why didn't the DO reach out to the staff for our input? Do they want teachers to thrive and to enjoy and appreciate their leader as we do now? In the process of beginning to look for a new principal for BIS, an email was sent out asking what we want in a principal. We have what we want. Please listen to us and please do not accept Ms. Gilbert's resignation. Thank you. The next one was submitted by, I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna mispronounce the name, Bertie Schultz. Birta Schultz, thank you. Dear Board of Trustees, Burlingame School District. Many students, families of students, and staff are deeply concerned by Principal Gilbert's untimely and unwanted resignation. We urge the Board of Trustees to consider the community's full support of Ms. Gilbert, as well as her track record as a positive leader for the students and staff of BIS, and to seriously examine her resignation before it is accepted as final. Please see the script of the petition in support of Ms. Gilbert, which continues to circulate, that has garnered over 250 signatures to date. This will demonstrate the widespread support of Ms. Gilbert and the importance she has for our community. This should give you cause to examine Ms. Gilbert's resignation. Thank you very much for all you do for the good of our students. In my personal capacity in sharing the concerns and sentiments of over 250 community members, please see below. As of March 15th, signed by 257 supporters. This petition is in no way affiliated with BIS officially or with BIS PTA. This petition was initiated by parents. We as a community are devastated by the untimely resignation of our children's principal, Erica Gilbert. We as parents know Ms. Gilbert to be dedicated, hardworking, and committed to our children and the success of BIS. Under her watch and leadership, BIS was recognized as a 2022 National Blue Ribbon School. She successfully navigated a return to new normalcy following the COVID pandemic and has prioritized connecting with our children and supporting their mental health. Truly dedicated to her job, she is often the first one at school and the last to leave. Her commitment extended beyond regular business hours despite being a parent herself. In her short time at BIS, Ms. Gilbert has exemplified the virtues of a responsible and successful leader. She has gained the respect of the students, teachers, and staff of BIS and the admiration of the community. Her leadership has been instrumental in bringing about positive changes in our school and community. Her absence would detrimentally impact our children's best interests. What our BIS students and community need in order to thrive is stability and consistency, which partially comes from having a compassionate, accessible, and respected leader like Ms. Gilbert. We do not believe another search would yield anyone more suited for our community. A leader like Erica Gilbert, who exhibits great administrative skills, compassion for our students, and cooperation with our community. We respectfully ask that the BSD School District and School Board consider the community's input in conjunction with the potential Ms. Gilbert has exhibited in her day-to-day dealings and keep her as principal at BIS. And that concludes the public statement submitted via email. We have received some in person.
So just a gentle reminder, you have 3 minutes, and just seconds will keep the timer on, and I will, just in the interest of moving the meeting along, need to interrupt if it goes beyond 3 minutes. So just be mindful of that. Jennifer and Sarah.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer and Sarah, and I'm a teacher over at BIS. Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time and forgive me for reading. I just want to, I don't miss anything. I'm here tonight to share my perspective of the resignation of Erica Gilbert, principal at BIS. As a 25+ year veteran of BIS, I have seen many principals come and go in that time. While Erica was new to being a principal and faced quite a learning curve, at BIS, I would like to say that her leadership has brought back, for me personally, the joy that I once found in teaching. Frankly, I didn't even realize how miserable I had become under our last leadership. And I didn't realize it until Erica came and lifted that veil. She has made me feel like a respected, valued, and integral part of our school community, which were all the qualities that brought me to this district 25+ years ago. For the first time in 14 years, I feel again like what I do every day, what I sacrifice my family for sometimes, what I sacrifice my time for every day makes a difference. And more importantly, because of that, my students now feel the exact same thing from me again. One of the many reasons that I'm sharing my feelings about Erica leaving with you all tonight is because she made supporting new teachers a priority in her time here. It has been really difficult to stand by as a veteran for the last many, many years and watch many highly qualified and gifted teachers leave our school to go somewhere else. And one of the reasons they left our school was because of the lack of support for them given by our site administration. Being a new teacher is one of the hardest things that I personally have ever done, and I know is incredibly hard for many people. And to try to do it now while kids are facing challenges like never before is daunting. New teachers need a lot of support and a lot of opportunities to learn and to grow their craft. And Erica knows the importance of making time and space for that. Teacher turnover at our site has been upwards of 10 teachers a year. And after 2 years with Erica, I believe that we are in a much better place. Teachers want to stay and they want her to stay. I am here to respectfully ask for the board to seriously reconsider accepting Erica's resignation.
Thank you. Next, Marisol Vasali.
Hello, I'm Marisol Vasali. I've been at BIS for 10 years now, and I'm speaking respectfully on the same topic to encourage the board not to accept the resignation of Erica Gilbert. I'm speaking as a concerned teacher, although I am the site rep, I'm speaking as a teacher. And we collected some anonymous supportive comments from the teachers at BIS, and there are too many to read in the time allotted, but I do want to read some of them, just so you know how some of the teachers feel at BIS. Erica is kind and supportive, both as a professional and as an individual. She has a calm demeanor, which sets the staff at ease. With Erica as our principal, somewhat different. With Erica as our principal, I felt that our staff culture was more positive and welcoming. She also let staff give input and opinions on certain topics, events, etc., which is crucial. Somewhat different. Erica made the independent physical education process more difficult, and we are now down to single digits from over 30 in years past. Physical education is now given more value from the BIS community. Somewhat different. With another administrator leaving this year, BIS needs consistency of leadership. We have that with Erica Gilbert. Another person. Erica has raised the morale of the staff by leaps and bounds. She has created many beneficial changes to the school. Firstly, she expertly led us to receive the National Blue Ribbon Award. Another person, Erica is open-minded, supportive, and caring about our teachers, staff, parents, and students. She has rebuilt our BIS community that benefits everyone, which is invaluable. Another person, I have received the utmost and sincere support from Erica in the past 2 years. To let her go would be a travesty to our school. Another person, My personal opinion is that with Erica as our principal, the staff climate was more positive, welcoming, and inviting after so many years of chaos and an us versus them mentality. Another person, Erica has been such a supportive administrator to me as a new teacher and new to BIS. I have felt very welcomed by her, and I am very upset and concerned by the news that she was let go. Another person, 1,000+ student middle school after a public health crisis, missing a fourth administrative staff, campus supervisors, and lost her best classified / clerical staff. Was she set up for success? Another person, we need to be loud and strong on this. We cannot lose a person who has completely changed the school climate for both teachers and students. She has unified the staff, made us feel valued, appreciated, and cared for. She is a breath of fresh air. Someone else, I don't know enough about the situation to go either way, but having a completely new administrative team next year makes me anxious. That's all the time I have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm so sorry. Fabris. Okay. I've heard your name so many times and I wasn't sure if it was Fabris or Fabrice. Denise Fabris.
That's because I've been here forever. Not, I guess I have to use this, but I
Yes.
probably don't need it.
We need it for the recording on.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, hi, my name's Denise Fabris, and this is my 29th year in Burlingame. And believe it or not, this is the first time I've ever spoken at a board meeting. So I have a few similar to what was just said. I have a few comments from teachers, and some of them are personal to me also. Erica has been the best thing that has happened to BIS in 15+ years. She has raised the morale of the staff. She has created a warm and supportive atmosphere. She is motivating and approachable. She has completely changed the school climate with teachers and students. Erica has made teachers feel valued, appreciated, cared for. She is open-minded, positive, and very calming. And I have this quote, I don't know exactly who wrote it, but it says, love your teachers the way you want your teachers to love their students. With grace, respect, appreciation, and validation. That is what Erica does. I do have a couple, some other people came up and mentioned about turnover. I have kind of exact numbers. So in several years prior, there's been kind of an average of 12 teachers turnover every year for quite a few years. The year prior to her arriving, we had 15 teachers leave. So her first year, she came in with 15 new teachers. The second year, only 9 teachers left. So far this year, only 4. So the teacher turnover is decreasing during the time that she was here. And I'm encouraging the board to please do not accept her resignation tonight. We need her. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Calvin. Next up, Leanne Paulson. Sorry, Leanne Dietrich.
Go back and forth myself. Thank you. As Lisa said, I'm Leanne Dietrich Paulson. I am the parent of a 6th grader and 4th grader, former McKinley School Site Council Chair, frequent volunteer, former BSD substitute, daughter, sister, and sister-in-law to 7 educators and 1 principal on the East Coast, which is to say I've always been surrounded by public school and district leadership. I'm here tonight as I'd like the board and interim superintendent to invite and accept the rescinding of Erica Gilbert's resignation. Continuity is important for our kids and for our BIS students. And I believe a change in leadership is only right
when there's a lack of fit or an incapability to succeed as a leader. In my opinion, this is not such a case. I'm a 6-year BSD involved parent, and my observation and opinion is that Erica Gilbert is a strong fit, and she is extremely capable in this role. In her clear and appreciated parent communications, she expresses a focus on mental health, connectedness, responsibility for oneself, as well as solid academics for all students. And more importantly, her actions and programs align to her words. With examples such as her frank and supportive discussion of difficult socio-emotional situations faced in our district, because they are a reality, and in my parent view, in her professional handling of several teacher classroom fit issues this year. I have personally found the typically hard to come by confidence for my current and future middle schoolers being well supported in these very difficult years of development and challenge, and that confidence comes from Erica's leadership. As other elementary school parents around Burlingame have asked me about BIS, as they consider whether to go private or public, I've shared that confidence and extolled Erica's problem-solving approach, as well as her whole child support as some of the reasons they should stay in the Burlingame School District. I don't believe there's a better candidate out there, and a search will be time and energy that we cannot spare right now. I ask you to invite Principal Gilbert to rescind her resignation and invite her to stay at BIS. Thank you for your attention to my opinion.
Thank you, Ann. Right, next up, Heather McLean.
Hello, my name is Heather McLean. I'm a 7th grade humanities teacher at BIS. I would like you to not accept Principal Gilbert's letter of resignation. I absolutely agree with all that's been said about our wonderful principal. In the last 2 years, the climate of our school has improved dramatically. And there's no way that you would know that unless you had been there before. So this is my 11th year teaching, and the last 2 years have been, even with the pandemic, it has been 2 of the best years of my teaching career. And I give full credit to Principal Gilbert for that. She's pleasant, friendly, kind, welcoming, and I feel appreciated in a way that I did not for 10 years with the previous administration. And finding 2 new admins sounds chaotic and challenging, and that's just something that I just don't want to face as a somewhat veteran teacher. The climate of the school has improved dramatically, as I said. There's much more open and constructive discourse. I can walk into her office and talk to her about things that I have concerns with about my teaching and my students and the atmosphere at school. And she listened, and I don't feel threatened, or I don't think that there's going to be some vindictive payback if I open up to her about something. She is wonderful with my students. She is wonderful with my team. The accountability for students and teachers has never been higher. The morale under Erica has been phenomenal. And I just would really like you to listen to us, because we are there and she is our leader and we love her and we really want to keep her. So please do not accept her letter of resignation. Thank you.
With our final comment under that agenda item. Oh, wait, is this? Another consent. This is another consent. Okay. Let's do Brian McLaughlin. And 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Brian McLaughlin. I'm speaking on 1680 E. It is the Chartwells. And what I want to convey tonight is there's many great things that can be said about Chartwells, the service they've done for this, but a needs improvement area is nutritional value. And so what I've done here, if you look on the first page, I took the Roosevelt menu for the week of February 27th. it represents a very typical menu. And then what I did is I calculated out all the macronutrients. And if you flip over on the back side, I've aligned those with the recommendations from the American Academy of Pediatrics, American Heart Association, the Dietary Guidelines for Americans published by the United States Department of Agriculture. And I aligned it, but actually also I put in the final comments columns, both the statutes, the current statutes and the proposal you might have heard of that were recently released. So what I want to convey here, you'll highlight a couple things, is we're currently, it's a great thing. It seems that the chocolate milk is removed because there's a lot of added sugar. That's really positive. But we're still serving 25 grams of added sugar just in the school day, just in the morning snack, the breakfast and the lunch. So 25 grams, that's what American Academy of Pediatrics and our pediatricians are saying for an entire day a child should have it. You can see that also aligns with what the USDA recommends. Secondly, on carbohydrates, we're high on carbohydrates. And then on sodium, we're around, in this week, it was 1,468 milligrams, whereas American Academy of Pediatrics is recommending we be below 900. So again, Chartwell's deserves a lot of great appreciation for many things, especially this week. This was a challenging week, and they came to the table. But this is a needs improvement, and we should encourage them to look at the American Academy of Pediatrics guidelines and the dietary guidelines for Americans. I also submitted online. There's a contract up. I don't know if I get a set over 3 minutes. I'm assuming I might not, but I did submit it online, and I had specific topics. Actually, since I printed out copies for the contract, specifically the Chartwell's contract doesn't say anything about environmental sustainability. So I hope we can add some of those suggestions that I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And we do have one more now in your PCA.
Thank you for letting me speak on behalf of the IS community. It is hard for me to put to words how much the IS has changed through the years. I have been at the IS for almost 9 years straight with all my children. And I've seen the positives of the past principal, but I've also seen some negatives in the sense of the school spirit, the community, and working side by side with Erica the last 2 years. I feel honored and blessed. She has brightened everyone's day. She really stops to listen to the parents, to the students, to the community. And I feel as though it's a loss for us to be losing such a dedicated person who has really taken on our community as a family. She has her own family that she does, and she has taken on those 1,000 students as part of her family. And the way that our district is going, it is just really sad to see that we're not building our present employees up and encourage them to be stronger. And we're losing and not being able to retain such amazing people in our community. So I would love to ask you to reconsider and not accept her resignation, because Erica, she is a breath of fresh air. And when I say a breath of fresh air, Burlingame needed it, and the middle school needed it. Everyone was like, oh, well, we get to middle school and it's not so good, but now it is. And I have people, I've taken tours with the students, I've taken tours with the parents, and they are excited about working with Erica this coming year. So it is heartbreaking. It is truly heartbreaking to lose such a dedicated person in our district. And I just think that you should really reconsider not accepting her. But thank you very much. I'm off back to the dance. So Thank you.
Thank you, Ingrid. Have fun dancing. Chris Bullen.
Hi, I'm Kristen Mullen. My husband is a teacher in the district at Roosevelt, it's a mover, and we have kids who go to BIS and they're in 7th grade. And Erica was so wonderful to us last year. My kids were having such a hard time at BIS, and she was so kind. Like she did Zoom calls with me. She took time in such a beautiful way to talk with us. And I was shocked to hear that this would happen. And at McKinley, people asked me, all about going to private schools. And I said, no, you have a principal at BIS who is wonderful. She's guiding the ship in a really lovely, social, emotionally responsible way. And we got that from the day one when she first talked to us, coming out of COVID, and we were all like, oh God, BIS, like really scared, very anxious. And she just put us at ease. And she always returned my emails and my whatever I needed, I felt like, wow, I can't believe this is such a big school and yet she's so responsive. It's just mind-boggling to me that you would consider not having her stay. So I want to echo what everyone else said.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, I think that is our last speaker on that agenda, on the agenda item. So, I personally would like to pull the item I mentioned, which was 16 .a. Anyone else have anything they would like to pull, or make a motion to approve?
Are you asking for that item to be talked about at the end of this? Oh, it is. Yeah.
So can we just put it at like night, whatever is right before adjournment?
After 19 before 20.
Got it. Okay. All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve consent.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we are going to, when we amended the agenda, we asked the bond oversight committee to come before consent, and we did not do that. And I want to apologize. I'm so sorry. Are you going to make your meeting?
I'm gonna be late, but.
I'm really sorry. All right, come on.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. A lot of people are here for things other than bond oversight committee, so I always like to start off by just explaining who we are and what we do. So I'm Howard Wetton. I've been on the bond oversight committee since I believe 2012, 2011. Lost the track. The bond oversight committee is required by Proposition 39 and kind of to raise money for bonds. To do capital expenditures. The law requires an independent oversight committee to review the expenditures and make sure that they are all capital expenditures and not operating expenditures. I think that's not only important for the district because it is a law, but also it builds credibility with voters and don't ask them to do new bonds. The members this is a report for the operating period 2021 through 2022. So there is a lag in these reports. The members during that period were Mr. Brown over here, Mike Jarrett, and myself, Prentice Eng, Donald Crummer, videos and Pine. Mike Jarrett started serving in 2011. He served at least 10 years before he stepped off. So I think to just say here that we really appreciate this great service. The key takeaways very quickly are that in the course of our oversight, Tim Ryan and Richard Gerones and staff have always been and
Amanda Bonner, although I don't know if you were there during the reporting period, but they've always been extraordinarily cooperative and forthcoming. We've never had trouble getting questions answered, which happens all the time with oversight. So it's really exceptional that the people of the district have been so transparent. During the period, we discussed BIS construction, the auditorium, the new SRC, what used to be called the gym, the playground renovations that have happened around the district, the replacement of locks, and the study for workforce housing were among the high-level topics that we covered. Finally, most importantly, there's been an audit. You probably received it, but I will report it to you and to the public that for the 11th and 12th year running during my tenure, there have been no findings of any kind of any procedures or processes that need to be changed. Everything has been in order. There's been no findings that money has been spent in any kind of inappropriate way. And finally, final sad note, one of our members, not during the report period, but shortly prior to it, our representative of the senior citizen community in Manning, Homer Potter, passed away recently. I don't know if it was a couple weeks ago. So I wanted to note that he was a excellent member of our committee. I don't think he ever missed a meeting he was supposed to be at. And he provided great service, and I'm very sorry about this passing. That's all I have.
Thank you, Howard, and I'm really sorry that we didn't put you in front of the consent.
No worries. If there's no questions.
No, thank you, Howard.
I'm gonna run out.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on to item 17A, CSC school plan for student achievement.
All right, principals, would you like to come on up to the table, please?
Start the time.
All right, good evening. We are excited tonight to have 6 of our schools here tonight. We have Beth Veo here from Roosevelt, Lisa Booth here representing Hoover with some power.
Yeah, did it go on?
No, we'll hear. I
Oh,
haven't
yeah.
checked it. It keeps getting smaller and smaller. Hoover's like this little spot labs. Katie is here representing Washington. Laura Afshar is here representing, of course, Lincoln. Jude for Franklin, Erica here for BIS, and then I have some information from Joy. When we rescheduled, she is at a baseball game, a very important baseball game for her son tonight. So we have asked prior to the pandemic, our principals would come and do a little synopsis of their SPSAs, and so they are here tonight representing a couple fun facts where they will go through all of their information. The big bulk of the SPSAs are of course posted online on the board docs. They will also be posted on our district website, on their individual websites. They have gone through each of their school site councils and they've done a lot of work. So we're excited to have just a quick run through because they are big and bulky. But we used to do this prior to the pandemic, and we're excited to have you back to give us a little nugget. So go ahead, Mr. Baveo.
Thank you, everybody. So yes, like.
Oh, Hoover does have power.
I heard you.
Okay, awesome.
So as interim superintendent, so as we said, we're going to give you a few data points about our school, and then one of our goals, and talk there, and certainly take questions after that. So Roosevelt Elementary School is a school of 302 students. 21.9% socioeconomically disadvantaged and 22% EL. Our main goal this year was to improve our math, taking off the CAS score last year of 68%, meaning more exceeding at grade level. So our step to improve were to make it the main focus of our PLC work. Our teachers have all picked out higher standards for math. They have been creating common formative assessments for each standard. In delivering them, and making sure that they're tracking the progress of all the students. And at the same time, we have focused our RTI support onto math this year and added extra 20 minutes just a fully intervention time in each classroom. It's a full mission program where our RTI staff comes in with the teacher, works hand in hand with the teacher to deliver targeted instruction for every student in the classroom. And as an example of the success of this so far, we're seeing that on average, where students start off about 50% on their first assessment on the new information, they rise to about 92% of all students at grade level on that. So as we go through, we find that it's been very, very effective. So we fully see that this will probably continue to fast improvement to our math this year.
I'm Lisa Booth, I'm the principal at Hoover, that is currently in its 7th year, which is so hard to believe. It seems like we just opened. The cornerstone of one of the cornerstones of our school is a school-wide theme that we choose every year. And it's something that we all unite around at the beginning of every year, and we spread it throughout the whole year. This year, our theme is Circles Begin With You, and it's based on a book called Circles All Around Us. And it's about just joining that students start in a really small circle when they're a child, and they have to make choices to spread that circle as they get older and make choices that maybe aren't things that they'd want to do or someone that they would want to know, but that everyone should have a spot somewhere in your circle. And it's about acceptance and being a part of something. The theme is celebrate throughout the year through our projects. We do a lot of community circles in the classrooms. We do a lot of cross grade level experiences. It's such a small school. It works perfect with that. In fact, today we had an assembly and they asked the younger kids, they said, how many of you know a 5th grader in the school? The entire group raised their hand. I think that's really something that's important in our school. This year, we even had a science night. It was all parents ran a science night. It was all circles. Everything was based on a circle theme. All these science projects. It was fantastic. That is part of our goal number 3. It goes right into our plan. That's goal number 3, our SEL goal. And students are the heart of our school. They're everything that we do. Their social and emotional well-being is of utmost importance to us. And it's something that we focus on really strongly at our school. Our other 2 goals, I'm not going to go over them, but they are both focused on our adoptions. We got rid of all of our goals this year, started fresh because the adoptions are huge for us and something that we want to make sure becomes our focus so that we don't lose sight of. And that we work together with the district and inside grade level meetings and all of that to make sure that those adoptions stay at the forefront, because they also benefit students because we're teaching a curriculum that is across the whole district and can be adopted for all students.
Good evening, board members. My name is Amy and I'm representing Washington this evening. I'm going to be reading from a statement that Principal Yee typed up as he was not able to be here this evening. Math is our focal point for the coming year. With just over 70% of our 3rd through 5th grade students meeting or exceeding standards in math on the CAS, our goal is to increase proficiency by 5% for all students in the coming year. To help with this, we have a number of great programs happening. The district has engaged in math-focused initiatives for this year to support our struggling students. And we had a great Wildcat show out at the first intercession program with 17 of our students participating. Currently, for the upcoming intercession program, 14 of our unduplicated students are already signed up and ready to go. Our summer program additionally will be focusing on math and music. Information regarding the summer programming will be coming shortly, but we'll be working with our teachers to identify students in need who should be signed up to take advantage of that work. We've heard amazing things about the experiences our students have had, and their enthusiasm is contagious. We are also excited to announce that beginning this spring, Washington will offer after-school math support for targeted students who are struggling in mathematics. Thank you, and I'll pass it to Principal Afshar.
Good evening, I'm Laura Afshar, Principal at Lincoln. At Lincoln, our Lions work really hard to be safe, to be kind, and be ethical. We have 430 students, 46 staff, including 19 teachers. We have 19 different languages spoken by our students and families, and 8 different languages spoken by our school staff. The Booth shared, we are also wrapping up this year a 3-year cycle with our goals. And so we are actually working really hard right now on our 23-24 goals that we're very excited about. We've definitely seen some achievement this year in our data that we're really proud of, but we're also learning that we have some student groups that we can do better in our support. So I am attending some county training, and we are very excited to open up a new equity and inclusion goal for the coming 23-24 school year. One of the things that surfaced in our school site council meetings was that we are all different learners, we are all different thinkers, and sometimes our kids think that they're the only ones that think a certain way. And we thought really long and hard about how do we create a better sense of inclusion and belonging. And our staff, some of our staff attended with me and our specialists a social thinking conference by Michelle Garcia Winters. And we decided that the curriculum that oftentimes is used with specialists is something that all of our can learn about, because it helps us be broader in our thinking about how others think, how we can think, and how we can create better connection in our thinking. So our staff just received this week 10 cards, 10 key concepts that we're introducing in our classroom, and we're really, really excited about that and putting stuff forward. And we have several other things, I know we have a time limit, in that goal that we are so motivated about and excited about. And it's exciting to feel that enthusiasm in our site council and with our teachers and with our team. I think that wraps it up. Thank you so much for your attention.
Hello, I am Jude Lawrence. I'm here from Franklin. We are a school of 380 students, much smaller than when I first arrived, which I hope isn't entirely due to me. We have more than 50% of our population now identifying as Asian, a proportion that's been steadily growing over the time that I've been at Franklin. 18% of our students are English learners, 16% socioeconomically disadvantaged, and 8% students with disabilities. So the population of the school has changed quite a lot over the years. One of the most special things I think about our school is our community. Everyone says that, I know. But one of the things that I would love to highlight is we actually have a teacher on staff that was originally a student at Franklin. And she was taught by another one of the teachers that's still on staff with us. So it's kind of a special thing, I think. And we really do feel like a family at Franklin, and the support that we get from our community is wonderful. The goal that I wanted to highlight this evening was our SEL goal. So by June 24, Franklin staff and administration will develop a comprehensive student behavior plan and school-wide instructional program to foster social emotional skills and promote a positive school climate. Super important that children feel comfortable, safe, and have social and emotional skills in order to be able to learn. They can't learn if they don't feel comfortable. So it's been a huge focus for us this year and over the last couple of years, and will continue to be. We've seen a lot of emotional and behavioural need across the grade levels, especially coming back from the pandemic. So we've implemented a positive behaviour interventional support framework across the school, which is the Falcon 4. Unfortunately, all our banners flew away in the storm, so we're hoping for some storm relief funds, please. Not a problem. We've created something called the Falcon's Nest, which is a room dedicated to providing sensory engagement and relief for students who need help with self-regulation. And that's been a real boon to the students. It houses our school counsellor and our psychologist when they're on campus. We'd love to have them on campus more often. We've also introduced the zones of regulations as a tier 1 behavioural intervention program across the school, which has given us an amazing shared language across the whole school. Our goal for next year is to include the parents more in that. Now the students and the teachers and the staff, the rest of the staff, have a great common language around self-regulation, and we're hoping to bring parents into that more next year. Given great new RSP teacher and counsellor who have worked with our teachers to provide more intensive tier 2 interventions for students with greater needs. And our next steps next year are more parent involvement and then better data collection and analysis. We found that there's a lot of anecdotal evidence around behaviour and SEL needs, but not enough data. So that's our goal next year, is to start building more foundational data to be able to help us get better at this as we go along. So, thank you.
I'm Erica Gilbert. I'm the principal at BIS, and the community is fabulous in all the schools because they all come to me, and I know that. We have definitely goals for our English language arts as well as our math. We're looking at growing our CAS scores and local assessments at 10% in the next year. What I wanted to highlight tonight goes along with what we've been dealing with all week, and that is the climate at BIS. It has absolutely improved in my tenure there. However, we have a lot of more work to do. We have added advisory classes that are 4 days a week. We have our positive behavior interventions and support program called Trojan Pride. And we have opportunities for students to start clubs, affinity groups, things that kind of let them figure out who they are and what they're interested in. The main thing that I really want to highlight, and unfortunately, a proposal was given to me from teachers after my plan was approved, was really putting more energy into our restorative practices. And restorative practices is really an alternative to traditional discipline. It is, instead of, someone makes a mistake and they get detention, or makes a mistake and gets suspended. Instead, they would go to peer counsel, or they would do peer talk with other students and a teacher. We have a track of truth where if a student is unregulated, they would get a counselor or an administrator or a teacher and take a walk around campus to kind of de-escalate. It would include mediation circles and also staff development in helping new teachers with discipline hacks and classroom management things, as well as what I know that we need to do is have more staff development, have a teacher or someone there to support these students that cannot function in a classroom on a day or multiple days. And often what we have seen is kids will come to peer counsel, they'll do an accountability project about whatever their infraction was. Some of it is racial slurs, some of it is, I can't even think of an example, sorry. Oh yeah, we had dancing, but basically the accountability project would be how it affects them and how it affects their parents, how it affects the other students in their class or out on the playground. And these accountability projects are presented to the people that are affected. We had students go to a GSA affinity group and basically went to tease the kids that were there. And their accountability project was to do research about how LGBTQ people are alienated and marginalized, and they had to do that research and then present it to that group. It was very powerful. We've had students present to our staff, and I would, so far this year, we have not had one student be coming back, which is really awesome. And so I did want to put a plug in that we would love to have a teacher on special assignment to champion that program and make sure that all the students that need the attention and support, it's not just the administrators that are doing it, because I think it was mentioned before, we went from 4 administrators to 3. We still have over 1,000 students, and we need someone really focused on that and to give our teachers staff development on the management in the classroom, because that's where it's going to start.
I'm going to read Principal Shelley. McKinley is holding steady, hovering about 550 students. Two of the largest student populations are Caucasian and Hispanic, making up nearly 60% of all students. Last year's 20% of all students were English learners, and nearly 20% of those were reclassified as fluent English proficient. McKinley has two concurrent running programs within their school community, the traditional English program and the district's dual language immersion program, each housing 50% of the school population. Both which create an incredible community. Their theme this year is "We All Fit In." She wanted to share two areas of their SPSA. Within our SEL goal, they have brought back the PBIS practices, including rewarding students for their good behaviors by giving them Bulldog bucks for when they get for which they get to spend money once a month at their Bulldog bodega for fun prizes. And then they get to also save up for larger prizes at a later date. Within their innovation goal, they are fortunate enough to have a supportive PTA that's going to help purchase 5 mobile steam carts, one for each major hallway, so that steam can come to the classes rather than classes go to the STEAM lab where they can barely fit any of or all of their students. Thank you again, and she apologizes for not being able to be here tonight.
Thank you. Those were wonderful. Do any of the trustees have questions or comments?
Thank you for all the hard work that goes into this. Great effort from the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you all.
I had one question.
Oh,
Just kidding. Sorry. Two of you mentioned RTI or specialists pushing into the classrooms. Is that happening at all schools?
We always mention it.
We mentioned it.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. You're good. Sorry.
So right now, in Franklin, most of our RTI happens outside of the classroom. We don't have an RTI person with us all the time. So what we're finding is that it's more efficient for us to pull the children out. And we work on 6-week cycles though. So the children that come out and work. We have an RTI person plus an aide, and they work with the children for 6 weeks and then reassess and see whether they need to continue with the program. And if they do, they go back in again, and we think about the next tier if they need that, but mostly it's for us it's pull out.
And we
you do both.
To be well, we mostly do push in, and we've actually started working with RSP and doing a lot of that work. But I would just say that part of the reason why we're able to do that is we receive Title I funds, so we have extra support with our RTI. We also our RTI person is there daily, not full days, but daily. And then the aid that we use our Title I form picks up the slack on them.
Okay, thank you.
We do have a unique situation.
Thank you. That was really helpful and great, and it's so fun to have you guys here. So much reading, so it's fun to hear it coming from you guys. All right, this is a voting item. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve?
A motion to approve the SPSA.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
And now we're moving on to Jedi Special Education.
Luca, and everyone.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Reading my favorite.
Understand? Thank you, everyone. So we are here tonight.
Luca, can you hold it up
Oh,
closer?
sorry.
Thank you.
I'm not used to this, so probably it's my first time. So thanks for having us tonight. Two amazing school psychologists are joining me tonight, Monica and Kate.
So the other two that are on the presentation, they couldn't make tonight, so apologies about that. So we're gonna talk about our special education services. And we have two components in the presentation. Let me see. Am I doing all right? So the first part is gonna be data driven. So we would like to present data because data tells us a story about how things are going, trends, challenges we will face, and help us to plan. How can we best serve students and families in the future based on the data that we can analyze. The second part is going to be more about terminology and next steps, and the Monica and Kate will do that part. They left the data to me, which is my thing. So forgive me if I talk too much. It's my thing. I'm Italian. Sorry. Redirect me if I'm talking a little bit too much. So the first we're going to do a little historical data by eligibility. We picked the top 5, as you can tell, and there will be a reason why we pick also this one. So this one, there is a note here. Historically, they present only the primary eligibility. Now the second,
The TV
Thank you.
is a touch one.
Sorry, I also use my hands. So that's why you see an increase. So it's primary and secondary eligibility. We were not able to retrieve historically because they were done during census day. So it's a picture in time. So we were not able to change the previous year, but the other ones were both. But interesting is that we can see a national trend in Burlingame, which is specifically on disability. We see an uptick, which is a national trend. And I hyperlinked also an article for you to review in the slide deck if you're interested about things that are going nationally. So these are the top 5. And then you can see speech and language impairment and specifically on disability are the 2 most common that we
So
have.
Luca, one quick question. So the primary eligibility means they're only in one category. And if they
Primary and second, yes, there is only one
So
kind. Usually
for
it's primary.
2022, they might be in more than one category. Is that
Right, for the first one, 2018, 19, 2021, it was reported only primary. They didn't put primary and secondary, while for the other ones, there was primary and secondary. So just to fix the slide, for this year, we actually fixed the number. So it's more, we can compare in future years the numbers in a better way. Does it make sense?
You could have 2 though, it just means that they only counted it as 1, correct? He's asking if you could, you could have 2.
You could have 2.
autism
I'm
and,
just trying to understand why the number jumps.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's because that year they started counting.
We start counting, correct. So for probably they were about 70 or 80 secondary, they were not reported.
Yeah,
They forgot to add.
Just in that year they started.
Right, correct. And here is another, we took take a look at the cohort of students from pre-K all the way to 8th grade. You can see the green line going across and see how many students were eligible in that cohort. You can see there is an uptick towards like middle school. It's also something we see in private schools getting ready for high school. So you can see an increase in requests for assessments and eligibility as well. As you can see, the number is pretty stable. Total, there is an uptick of students eligible for special education services in 2022. And again, we can talk more about that because it's a national trend due to COVID also. We were trying to look if we replicate in our district like national trends as well regarding assessment. Thank you, Kirsten. So we tried to, as best we could go back to 21, 22 to see how many assessments were conducted, right? Because we want to explain why we have 35 more students eligible than the previous years, right? So you can see 293 assessments were conducted in 21, 22. We were not able to retrieve 2020 was COVID, probably it was not really reliable data. And before we were not able to. This is the, oops, what's happening? There is something wrong. Can you go one back? This is the current year. So this is as of the beginning of February. As you can tell, 258, and we were only February 1st. So we had all the semester to go. We almost reached 85% of the previous year's number.
which totally is telling me that we're gonna be well over the 293 that we had last year. Probably gonna go in 320, 30s, 40s probably. We are also getting an uptick in private schools, like I got 7 on this week, for example, request. That is not represented in that slide. And that lead us to a little, like the uptick in eligibility. So more assessments we conduct, more likely the trend is to have more students eligible for special education services. In the uptick again, I'm gonna show after this slide, we have some resources that we can rely on to take a look as well. So this is the total enrollment and number of students receiving special education services. As you can see, the enrollment is going down for many reasons, especially during after COVID. Neighboring districts have seen the same number. San Mateo County has lost 11 or 12,000 students between 2019 and 2022. So the enrollment went almost to 100,000 in 97 to 80. You'll see is in the next slide. I don't remember the number. This is the total, the percentage of students receiving special education services compared to the total population. There is a little increase, but also the enrollment went down. This is also another explanation. Usually, students receiving special education services stay within the public school system because they are eligible of FAPE. If you transition a private school, you're not eligible of FAPE. So if you are eligible to receive special education services, you will most likely stay within the system because you receive the services that you need and you deserve. While total enrollment goes down for many reasons, it might go charter, it might go private, it might move out of the town. But again, is a trend that we have seen in San Francisco as well. They lost 18,000 students as a whole, charter and public charter and school district. Here, we want to do a compare. Okay, how are we doing compared to county? California, nationwide. As you can see, we are actually in the lower spectrum. This is San Mateo County, 21-22, 86,000 from 100,000. So pre-pandemic, San Mateo County Public School had almost 100,000 students enrolled. Currently, we are 86,000. So same trend that we see in San Francisco County and West Contra Costa as well. But 11.6%. This data actually, 2021, this one is older. It's 2 years ago, which means probably that 11.6 is on the rise because we probably have more students receiving special education services because that's the same thing that we see this one as well, 12.5% in California. They don't have a recent, they don't have a recent data point. So probably it's more likely 15 in California currently, because if you see nationwide, it's 15%. San Francisco is 21%, San Francisco County. Here you can find some resources, and this one is the one that I was talking about that talks about trends nationwide. If you want to take a look, it talks about COVID, the impact of assessments that we had, and the eligibility, which is specifically learning disabilities, the most impacted by COVID and subsequent years. Okay, that leads to our expenditures, right? So in the past, this is a critical piece in our budget because this is telling us that we are not supposed to spend less than the previous year's money that were budgeted for special education services. So if we say that we are spending $20,000 per student and we are spending $19,000 per student next year, we are failing this MOE. Basically said the state is, and the county is telling us, hey, you're not supposed to spend less in the following year. Why did you spend less? So we have to justify with a SELPA, why did we spend, for example, $1,100 less per pupil in 2019-2020 compared to 2018-2019? Why was that? Why did we spend $2,000 less per pupil in 2020-21 compared to 2019-2020? Why did we spend $767 less per pupil in 2022-23 compared to the previous year? which leads to this amount of savings. So we save $1.1 million in 3 of the past 4 years, means that we decrease the expenditure. And I think that was because of COVID, we needed less personnel because we were remote, right? So that's probably the big decrease here. Or there were open positions unfilled previously after, or for some other different reasons that we saved some money, but we're not supposed to. Then how do we base our decisions? So like here, there are the BSD population by race and the SPED population. So we also want to take a look at, okay, are we disproportionately represented some of our most impacted communities in special education services? The state is, and the federal government is very keen at looking if we are disproportional, even though the ratio isn't the outrageous. Okay, I said it, outrageous, because it means that to be disproportional means that you need to be 3 times more than your little slice, which is a lot. For example, if we pick African American, which is, well, is tiny, is small here. Let's see, I want it to be bigger. This one, Asian Indian. So to be disproportionate, they need to be 20% in special education. So from 6 to 20%. So that's the federal regulation, which is very high. But that's what we take a look when we look at, are we disproportionately representing some categories in special education? As you can tell here, we are not. The only one that I saw there was a question was the Latinx, which there is a reason, because there is a different definition for the federal government that says ethnicity versus race. So for the federal government, ethnicity is only, are you of Hispanic, Latinx descent? So they don't ask you, are you white Latinx, black Latinx, and so forth. So it goes 10%, while the next slide for the federal government is 20 and 20. So we are not disproportionate because these want to clasp together different way that people perceive themselves into the category. The other way we look at disproportionality is taking a look at our unduplicated pupil percentages. So again, this is BSD population at the all, and we can see that non-UPP is 76%, about 23.4% are our UPP, which means they fall under vulnerable English learners or both. SPED population is kind of the same, so there is not significant disproportionality between the two, which means that we are doing a good job on not overrepresenting these categories into our special education services. Okay.
Okay, so some vocabulary that we most often use in special education, which can show everything. The RSP is resource specialist. That's the most popular one. I've heard of that. SAI is what it's qualified. They receive what we call specialized academic instruction, and it's just say FBI, part of FBI. That's what it means. SDC would be a special day class or a separate classroom on public campus, and then NPS would be non-public school. The next one is
next slide.
Child finding. So as a district, we have an ongoing obligation to identify, locate, and evaluate all children with disabilities residing in our district boundaries that are in need of special education services. So if we hear about, in schools, like somebody struggling, that would become child finding for us. And then FAPE, under the special education law, it's free and appropriate public education. So anybody needs that special education and related services that are provided as a as described in their, on their IEP, the individualized education program, under public supervision to your child at no cost to the Burlingame family. That's free and appropriate. And under a least restrictive environment. So the, to the maximum extent, children with disabilities are included in a classroom with children who are not disabled. And then if we have them in a special day class or separate schooling day or other, or they're removed from the regular education classroom, it only occurs under, you know, depending on the severity of the disability.
Okay, so and I will continue to help apply some of those new vocabulary that you just learned to what it might look like when we're considering students for special education. So you know, you heard about least restrictive environment, right? So when we think about how to educate students with disability, we want them to be with general education peers as much as possible because there could be both academic and non-academic benefits to that. However, we also want them to have an appropriate education, meaning that there is sufficient specialized instruction or special services that could meet their needs. So when you consider all those concepts, that would result in what we call a educational placement continuum. So from the least restrictive on the left side to the most restrictive on the right side. So that would look like general education classroom, right? And then little bit more restrictive would be small group push in or push out. So like little bit of time with not with general education peers, right? Like how it typically developing peers. And then there's special education classroom, right? They're in separate classrooms, but could still be on an integrated campus. And then non-public school is like, so non-public school would be like completely removed from a integrated campus. And then the most restrictive would be the home or hospital residential facility. Next slide. Yeah, so this slide just integrates the continuum with what is currently happening at Burlingame School District. So right now we have about 90% plus of BSC students full day with peers in general education. And then there in the elementary school level, there's 6.5% of students receiving push and pull out services for like either audiology, speech, or specialized academic or SAI. So and then in the middle school level, there are about 3% of students being served in this way. And then special education classroom here looks like a special day class or SEC for short. So we have one at Roosevelt, and then I don't know how many at BIS. There's one maybe at BIS. So yeah, so students in those classrooms have spent 10 to 40% of their day in what general education peers usually like in music and TV, or like during like recess, like more. So they still have interaction with the complete development peers. And then non-public, and then like less than 0.5% of BSC students are placed in non-public schools, and then less than 0.2% are in the home hospital residential facilities. So those would be kids with very severe needs. Yeah.
So these are some of our next steps that we came up with as a group. Just focusing on helping families access resources and increase, so just the GTRC, the Golden Gate Regional Center, Special Education District Advisory Committee. And so those are the, how to increase resources that families can access. Then expanding behavioral services, the providing support for our 504 programs, focusing on MTSS, tier 1, 2, and 3 interventions, And then focusing on inclusion. And then focusing on increasing math outcomes for students receiving special education services, adding co-taught math at BIS, target math support for middle school students during intersession. After school programs to provide tutoring and direct instruction, training at Stanford with Joe Fowler, 16 teachers for summer school curriculum. And math training, I ready for K2. And then continue to focus on child find. So those are some of our next steps that we'll focus on. Which is to focus on. Questions? I can always direct questions.
When I was touring Roosevelt yesterday, and then I got to see the kids just playing outside. It did seem like they skewed younger. So are you anticipating like a little bubble? Like when my older daughter, who's now almost 20, in her year, it was an enormous bubble. I mean, it was much higher than just a couple of years before, and it kind of overwhelmed the entire, kind of system around San Mateo County. I'm wondering if you're anticipating something like that, just because it seemed like so many of the children were so young,
We're probably gonna have only 1 or 2 in the 3-5. All the other kids are like K2, and we have a pre-K group coming. Actually, you're right. Maybe probably be couple.
Yeah. Are we ready?
No, yeah.
You need to prepare, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Next question. I have a question. Co-taught math on the last slide, is that something that you're gonna try to implement next year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, what
That's
watch?
hard.
Sorry. Now some of the principals talked about it, like in Washington, so the after school. It's not cool, but it's two things.
Co-taught at the as a middle school.
Yeah.
Right. And currently the co-taught class at BIS is humanities?
Correct.
Okay, so will there be co-taught humanities?
That's what
and
they're
co-taught
planning,
math? Great. Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 17B, math support for Latinx students.
Hello.
Yeah.
My name is Gigi Gonzalez, and I am returning to the district. I used to be an assistant in student services with the lovely Marla, and now I am a parent and community engagement coordinator. So we're gonna get going with our presentation. It's on math supports for Latinx students. I think at the December board meeting, there was conversation about the Latinx math scores particularly. So we're gonna kind of go over a few things and possible solutions. So we'll introduce our team here as well.
I'm still Katie, principal on special assignment, and am actually kind of honored to be a part of this because of the important work we're doing with our extended learning opportunities program grant.
I'm Nate Long, I'm the coordinator of assessments and special projects. So we're going to start with our task data here that was presented to you at the December board meeting. And the concern here is the big dip after the pandemic in math scores for Latinx students. So there's concern around the big dip there and continued downward trend in math scores here. And then we thought it would be interesting to see a comparison between the math scores of Latinx students who are in band, which is an elective. Sorry, this is not working. Sorry, thank you. So the comparison between the math scores between students who are in band and Latinx students who are in band and those who are and all students. So you can see there, there's a comparison between all students in grades 4 through 8. And I went with grades 4 through 8 because band doesn't start as an elective until 4th grade. So just to try to keep it as apples to apples as possible. Then we have that compared to Latinx students in band. And then we have all Latinx students compared to the Latinx students in band.
Can you explain the conclusions from that slide? So you're showing all students, the scores are above
Yes,
the
yes.
scores. So what's the conclusion?
Well, I think it's hard to tell because what happens with the math scores is all scores is the cut, what we call the cut score, or the minimum required score to meet or exceed the standard goes up with every grade. So the mean scale score for students goes up with each grade every year. And however, enrollment in band tends to go down as the grades get higher. So it's a little tough to draw any, it's kind of tough to draw some real conclusions from this, unfortunately.
Why even use music as a control factor as opposed to those that play a sport or something else?
Yeah, it was just something that we had been discussing at the beginning of the school year. We took a look at equity and in music, elective music programs, both in band, which is an elective from 4 through 8, and choir, which is an elective in 6 through 8. And we noticed some equity gaps there, and in one particular student group that was underrepresented in our music electives was Latinx students. So we were just kind of continuing on with that. And we did a big outreach program at the beginning of the school year, where we did translations and targeted outreach to families to try to get them to understand how to join band and encourage them to join band.
I think another reason was because we don't control sports during the school day, but music is something that we can do outreach and support during the school day too.
Yeah, and there are a lot of theories out there that people who take music lessons tend to do better in that.
Right. The state doesn't desegregate enough to be able to, and it doesn't show, right? Right.
Yeah,
It does. It's
Yeah.
You're right. Absolutely.
But-
Because I am all pro music.
Right.
Right. But
Right.
it's
Right.
we wanted to show it because it's bad practice to kind of go into looking at data with a preconceived notion or trying to get the data to tell you something that you want it to tell you. So even though it showed the opposite, we thought it important to show it was.
Wait a minute. I'm looking at it wrong then. I thought it was showing that there wasn't as big a decline. They started out lower. Oh, but they started out lower.
But yeah, you're correct. There
But
is.
there isn't this, I agree with you, Florence,
Yeah.
because when I look at it, it's, when you look at the downward trend, I'm only seeing an 8-point decline. Am I misreading it?
No, that's correct. Yeah.
Right.
Right?
So if you look at
Versus
the
the overall.
all students versus band students, the band
Right.
students have lower scores.
Right, but when I'm looking at band Hispanic, sorry, I feel like Luke, I need to stand up and go over there. So when I'm looking at band Hispanic from the 2483 to the 2475, it's 8 points versus if I look at 2533 to 2505.
The delta is smaller. For
The delta,
being-
yeah.
Right,
Right.
so I am looking at it the way Florence is reading it.
Yeah, and I said, as I said, the population of our band students, it goes down, and that's for various reasons. First of all, students are very excited when they get to 4th grade and they finally can join this thing that they've been hearing about. And other things happen, other things come into their lives, sports, things like that. So just changing of interest and things like that. And with that, I'm going to pass it on to Gigi.
Hello again. So we did some parent survey for the Latinx community, and what we got was that 65% of Latinx parents who participated in the poll feel that their students struggle in math. And 85% who participated in the poll said that they absolutely would send their students to an after-school tutoring program if there was no cost. And I'm sorry for not putting in the student input as a slide, but what I found interesting, we did ask a small group of Latinx students as well. And both the student and the parents said that they feel a big barrier is that they need more practice, like the students aren't practicing enough maybe at home or at school. So both the parents and the students came to that conclusion. And out of the 19 students that we asked them on a scale of 1 to 5, how strong do you feel your math scores? Or how strong do you feel that your skills are in math? And they averaged on a scale of 1 to 5, which isn't terrible, but it's not great. And then we also asked the students what they would want, what would help them attend an after-school program. And I thought it was interesting because transportation home was a big one, as well as an online option. So maybe, transportation is an issue to get into an after-school program. Maybe parents are working multiple jobs. So it just might not be feasible in certain cases. So an online option is always good for students. Oh, sorry. The last part. And then, some of the other barriers that the parents had mentioned was that students fall behind after absences. It's hard for them to catch back up, and they don't always feel comfortable asking for help in large group settings. And also overcomplicated methods of teaching. And what I internalized at this meeting, that the parents aren't able to help the students with their homework. So the methods might be changing with time.
So, as you're working on these really amazing ideas to implement, are you sharing this feedback back to kids? Yeah, because not feeling comfortable asking questions.
Yeah, that's something we can definitely change, and definitely something that teachers can reflect on and work within their classrooms on adjusting. We haven't shared it with them yet. We were trying to pull our data before coming back to them, but we definitely will be sharing this with them.
All right, and then in January, we met with the EIS math department and had a pretty lively discussion about this. Oh, yeah, that's correct. And so this is feedback we got directly from the teachers. Some of the issues here are language barriers and communication and making sure there's translations and things like that. Newcomer support, so providing language support for students in math specifically. Needing a full day of onboarding for new math teachers. And just the cost of tutoring these days is so high, and that's another barrier for support there. And teachers feel that they need ongoing math coaching throughout the district. Other things that were cited were technology barriers. And the fact that parents might not be able to actually help their students with their homework because the curriculum has changed so much. I know when I sub in classrooms, I'm looking at the math and I'm like, this is nothing like what I did when I was growing up. So I know that might be a huge challenge there. And then Gigi kind of touched on this earlier, but are students able to go to after school programs and get that extra support outside of their home as well as in their home? So things like Russian math or Kumon or things like that. And an issue is that there's one bus that leaves at the same time every day. And those students that are on that bus are not able to stay for extra help. And yeah, that was the feedback we got from the teachers.
So the February intercession was based on Lego's STEAM curriculum. So mathematics was inherently part of the work that all of our students conquered. And we disaggregated our enrollees and found that 40% 40 out of the 99, and the program was TK8, were identified in our school as Latinx. There were hands-on opportunities to do coding, to understand directions, to do all of those types of mathematical thinking, even if they weren't putting down the 2 and carrying the 1. There was a really wonderful small group to teacher ratio. So with the TKK and first grades, we actually had 2 certificated teachers for the classes of about 18 to 20 each. And then we had classes anywhere from 4 to 8 kids for the upper grades. And we did group them by grade level. At the middle school, we had only 22 students enrolled, which I think for the hard sell that it was, hey, during your break, don't have a break, come and do more schoolwork. Oh, and by the way, do it in the subject that you really probably dislike the most. So we were very pleased that we got 22, and about a third of those were Latinx students. This was intensive day-long support in mathematical skills. We had 3 teachers, and the teachers led by Tara Cook did a data dive into each of the students who enrolled. We looked at past assessment data. We got input from teachers. So we were able to group the students according to ability and need, and as opposed to just 6th graders, 7th graders, and 8th graders. The feedback was very interesting because it's very hard to read middle school students. And we sent out parent surveys. The ones that are giggling are the ones that have or have had middle school students. So of course you couldn't pry, oh yeah, it was great, we had fun out of them for money. But parents reported back to us on our surveys. They really liked it. They liked being in small groups. They liked being able to ask questions, and they appreciated the help that they got. Words are boring. So what I did now is did a little, you can see in the upper left are enthralled middle school students working assiduously on their mathematics. On the right, a young lady holding up her creation. And then we have a wee video. There is a small rude sound, but take it in the spirit that it's meant. Go ahead. That's not it. Oh, I'm gonna stop touching things. If we had the sound, you would hear Mr. McManus asking questions about what it is that, what are you trying to get the robot to do? How were you able to make that robot do that piece? One of the funnest ones I saw is the 4th grade team did synchronized dancing. They had the robots all lined up, and in time to music that was playing, they had, and there's some able assistants coming in to help. Anyway, you get the point of the deal. The sound is almost secondary. But look at the engagement and look at the interaction between science, technology, engineering, and math that they were into in some classes literally within 15 minutes of the program beginning.
So we were thinking about some possible solutions going forward. And some things that we're working on. We're working with sites to offer free after-school tutoring to targeted students. One of the things that the questions that we had asked parents was if, you know, after-school care was offered and it was free of cost, would you send your student? To which I think it was like 85% said absolutely. It was a large number. And so we're also looking into providing evening tutoring with the possibility of Zoom for those students who may have transportation issues. And also looking into providing 1 evening a week of math and music instruction with a parent engagement component. And that one we're still heavily researching, but there are districts around us that have started using that, like Pleasanton, Castro Valley, and Campbell. And all of them have reported that the parent engagement component has made a big difference. The math scores for students have gone up, the discipline and absences have gone down, and their programs have received golden bells. So it's definitely something for us to continue looking into to see if it's right for our district. But yes, and then also kind of to mirror what trustee Wong had said, there's a Dr. Nina Kraus, who's a professor and a neuroscientist at Northwestern, who does a lot of research behind music instruction, not only improving children's communication, but also closing the academic gap. So yeah, we're hoping to do more research in that area for our district. Do we have any questions?
Yeah, actually, I have just I don't know what kind of question this is, but so if you're offering the after school tutoring, are we able to provide food?
Can I speak to that? Sorry, that was one of the components that the other districts did have that they felt was strongly enticing as well.
Yeah.
That way, you know, if a parent has to go home and cook dinner, it might, you know, be another, not necessarily the problem, but it would take a load off of them.
Right. Be great.
I was going to add, currently our national school lunch program is breakfast and lunch only, but there are opportunities as our unduplicated pupil population increases that we may be able to start offering a reimbursable after school snack and or dinner as our programs increase.
What grade does the after school tutoring target, or what grades is it starting at?
My goal is that it's TK8. That the, for instance, Mr. Paveo has already assembled a list of students that he wants to target with the tutoring. And I don't recall if I saw TK, but for sure there were K. And he had a K1-2 group and he had a 3-4-5 group.
And it's BSD teachers?
It will start with BSD teachers offering first. When you have a smaller pool of teachers to pull from, we might have to get creative in how to expand. But they are, for instance, in Washington, we've already sent a survey who would be interested in that tutoring. And I already have, I think, out of the number of Washington teachers, something like 5 have already responded positively.
I just wanted to point out that the funds are for TK through 6th grade. So the ELOS specific funds will be used for that, though we do have other restricted federal resources that we can use for 7th and 8th grade.
Yeah. Sorry, can I just go back to the food part? The other school districts did let me know that they were able to provide food free of charge. So that's something that we would, you know, look into first before.
Yeah, they would partner with other like community people. Yes, like when we talked to the city, they had talked to us about maybe partnerships with local people. Yeah, in our city district meeting that we had. So
specifically, Donna Colson said she
Donna
would make
Colson.
it happen. So
yeah, Donna
calling
Colson
out Donna
offered
down her name.
Donna
Yeah.
Colson offered it up to us.
Benny Hanna.
She did. I promise Benny Hanna. Yeah.
When will we receive an update on if you're pursuing any of these and how they're working?
Like the tutoring, for instance?
Yeah, like all those things. Yeah. And right now, they're just ideas, as I heard your presentation. They're not necessarily going to happen. So
I know of 2 schools that have more concrete movement than just ideas. Washington and polling teachers to see who's available. Roosevelt in disaggregating data to find specific students to target. Mr. Paveo wants to get this rolling and has teachers in his pocket ready to go. As soon as we solidify some data, he feels he could take off next week. Working with Principal Yee, our goal is to start that work after we return from the spring break, hopefully by mid-April.
Bullet points 1 and 2, trustee DeVoy, are already in the works. Bullet point 3 is just something that we're researching currently.
so when could we receive an update on how this program is going later this school year? Or?
Bullet points 1 and 2, we can start providing it in weekly updates. I mean, and you can start providing, we can get them, you know, within the next, after spring break, we can give you another update, I'm sure, in weekly updates. And then bullet point 3, we can give you, I mean, we can start providing them in our community updates. That's not a problem.
I mean, to me, it feels like we need to wait until probably the school year is complete, and then we, and like maybe in the beginning of the summer. Figure it out. Just seems like we'd have more data by then, that would be more meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as we start onboarding schools, I think we can provide updates. I don't know that it's every 2 weeks you're gonna hear about something new. I think that it sounds like you have schools already onboarding, so maybe Katie, as something new comes up, you can provide an update to us so we can provide.
At the very least, information for you to use in your.
As you provide your
super-
updates, we can
Yeah.
provide it to our weekly updates. That would be great.
And the other thing would be, we've already planned to do this, but like next year, learning how those kids performed on assessments.
You're speaking my data language. And sometimes my eyes are bigger than my data tummy. But in order to be good custodians of these funds, we need to not only have pre and post assessment for the programs we run, but keep track of them as they migrate through our BFC family all the way up through middle school. So yes. And
Yeah.
yes,
I mean, I was like a year, right?
right.
It'll also, trustee, the way to go back to that too, there's some of this will also probably be in our LCAP, so there will be baseline information that will be going in the LCAP too, so that'll be in June. So there will be updates in the June board meeting coming forward.
Great. Any other questions or comments? It's very exciting. Yeah. Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I shan't be back tonight.
I don't know,
We'd like you to introduce yourself again if you do.
unless you have a different name.
All right, moving on to item A or item 18B, phase 2 energy infrastructure modernization program presentation.
Sorry, guys, I thought they were all here for us, but we have homework. So. We'll keep it energetic.
All right, welcome.
Thank you. Trustees, thank you for having us this evening. As you probably recall, as part of the building program that you've approved, we included as a project the HV and HVAC replacement projects at each of the school sites. And as part of that program, as you know, we're also adding air conditioning where it currently doesn't exist. And one of the other goals of that project is to convert from from gas-fired units to electric units wherever it's feasible. So in that regard, based on the increased electrical loads, et cetera, we have re-engaged Climate Tech, who's here this evening, to, as you may recall, also it was the vendor for the phase 1 solar installations under Measure M. And so we've re-engaged them to analyze the possibilities for additional solar. And so they're here to present an update on their work to date. So I'll let them introduce themselves.
Good evening, Board President Mudd, members of the board, Superintendent Silversmith, members of staff, and what's left of the community. Thanks so much for having us here tonight. My name is Amber French. I'm from Climate Tech, and I am here with my partner Tyler Gertman. The biggest compliment we can ever, have as a company is being asked back for more work, or to be considered for more work. So thank you for having us here again tonight. We're just here to share the combination of our efforts of the last 7 months and our partnership from 2016. It's not.
I don't have it in a presentation mode. I only have it in PDF, so you'll need to let me know when to go to the next page.
No problem.
It'll take me a moment to pull it up.
I know, I was excited to see them. All right, you can go to the program.
So first and foremost, over the program objectives, we're all here to improve in the safety of the learning environment while hedging against rising utility costs and improving the staff operational efficiency and just really making everyone comfortable within the learning environment. A little bit about the process to date. Climate Tech, We were selected through an RFP process. And we updated the baseline information, which is taking all of your utility bills and looking at it from a holistic view and looking at it site by site, and then down to even a 15-minute interval period. We did in-depth site assessments with our engineers, and that has been done numerous times just to make sure that we have gotten the scope dialed and correct. We presented a preliminary scope of work and funding plan to staff a couple of months ago, and then we presented to the district's owner committee last month. And here we are tonight for a study session. As Richard mentioned, we were here and we did do a phase 1 scope of work, which included 250 windows at BIS and Roosevelt, a district-wide solar program, and upgrades to all of your lighting to LED, and a little bit of controls work. And as you see on the screen, we really helped with the sustainability throughout the community, taking 488 cars off the road, powering 440 Burlingame houses, 3,743 trees preserved, and 220,000 gallons of gas saved through the program that you guys have already implemented. You've also achieved well over $1 million in savings that have directly impacted your general fund.
When you look at the 3 main priorities that we were given to develop in a comprehensive program, again, going to Richard's point, adding air conditioning to the spaces that didn't have air conditioning, obviously with temperatures increasing, the climate change that we're experiencing, making sure that the kids are comfortable, proper ventilation, and better controls, which is the building automation system. So these are systems that control your heating, cooling, lighting, and really standardizing to more of a non-complex building automation system that's really been standardized throughout multiple districts in the Bay Area and throughout California. And then solar PV shade structures, parking and rooftop, just because of the landlocked lack of space within your sites, looking creatively for renewable energy. Now, the key about this is when you look at utility increases, it's about 17 to 22% year over year from last year to this year in terms of PG&E's expense. So when you add air conditioning to sites, your load, and especially the electrification, is really going to increase. So the offset of additional renewable energy to lower any additional utility costs in the future to really protect that bottom line is key. A lot of districts are considering this suite of solutions together. There's at least 5 that we're engaged with right now, implementing these projects or have implemented these types of projects here in the Bay Area and in Santa Cruz County. So these are the priorities, and next slide, please. So just in conversations with the team, with staff, and obviously with the owners meeting, coming together, really the 5 sites of additional HVAC, Franklin, Hoover, Lincoln, Washington, and then McKinley in a smaller area, mostly the NPR at that facility, adding the air conditioning, the electrical infrastructure that's needed to be able to do that, because currently there's just furnaces in those areas, as well as, again, improving the ventilation and filtration within those areas, and then the building automation that again comes along with really improving how those units are used in that space and improving comfort. And then solar shade structures, parking, and rooftop at 6 sites. We're going to go through the solar PV pictures, show some sample pictures of what other districts have done, especially in areas like this, and then go to each site specific and get into. Next slide, please.
And we welcome questions throughout the presentation.
Yeah, very informal. So these are sample structures that have just even been up within the last 6 months. And we see a big shift to more of a shade structure, close to playground areas over 4 square. The one on the left is Castro Valley, over 4 square areas where kids would play and be shaded. And obviously on the bottom right, closer to the playground as well in terms of the slide. So it's just a sample of it, obviously colored for the school colors, other things like that to improve aesthetics as well. Next slide.
Sure. Can you talk a little bit about how you've modeled the sun's orbit over it, right? Like, and to figure out where would the shade
Right.
be throughout it.
Right. So what we do is we take what Amber mentioned was the 15-minute interval data from PG&E, and we input it into the software programs that we have. And obviously you want to face south and west is the best for solar production, but obviously you're looking at your space, you're looking at roof, orientations, et cetera. And all of that's calculated with the production, with what's needed and the sizing of the system for your AC load add. All of that's been computed to really get to where we're going to show you kind of where the layouts are. Does that answer your question?
And then how about the shade provided by the shade structure?
The shade provided by the shade structure is,
Did you look at that? Throughout the day? I mean, not that it.
where, how it shades those areas? No, haven't.
Oh, okay. I
haven't-
thought I misunderstood that when I asked.
No, I haven't done a shade
So you're
analysis
talking about
underneath
looking
the
at the
structure.
sun, you're talking about which way to angle.
Yes, we angle it for
Maximize
maximized production.
Okay.
Correct.
But
And
part
it
of-
also maximizes, because it's facing the sun, right, to maximize the production. So it probably improves the shade square footage underneath of that area, I would assume.
Well, when we get to the parts where we show the school sites, that'd just be part of the
Yeah.
considerations. During the school day, where's the shade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Osborne Fields seating, could use some shade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you'll put it, which.
Oh, yeah. Good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next slide, please.
I have a question.
Well, I just want real quick, sorry, just a little input on that. As we get to the site plans, the thing to keep in mind is that these are small school sites. One of the first things that we found is that we don't have a lot of space to add to rooftops. The solution that we have landed on at Lincoln does include rooftops, but at a lot of the other sites, we don't have room to add onto the rooftop. So we're limited as to where we can put the shade structures on the playgrounds in order to try to avoid existing structures like basketball hoops, other things that we want to try to avoid in terms of location. So all the while, yeah, a shade analysis for exactly where the shade falls, might be helpful, but I think the more critical thing is locating the shade structures to where we can restripe gracefully and easily and not have these be in the way of fire lanes, basketball hoops, and some of those other things. I'm reminded of the family picnics that I go to where everybody's tent is over there and they're sitting over here because that's where the shade is falling. But we have other
I would just say
considerations
we
too.
want to also take that into consideration. Like if the shade's not gonna be on
Okay.
the playground, then just put it off the corners.
Right.
Sure.
Besides the shade, I'm gonna ask the question that I've been asked for the last 4 days, because we've had no power. Is there any way to store power with the power we collect?
So battery storage sadly is extremely expensive at
Okay.
this time. And
That's what she told me, but I'm.
which we talked about.
I've had
We-
one blocked yesterday. and-
Multiple districts are looking for power resiliency solutions and how they're doing it is with sadly, but natural gas generators.
Okay,
That gives you the duration you're needing for the 3 or 4 days. That's giving your backup. Battery storage isn't there yet. And the incentives from the CPUC, which is the California Public Utilities Commission, is now driven towards residential support and giving them, not to commercial, which is where school districts fall under. So
And a lot of the batteries, you have to have a massive oversized battery to run it for over a day.
yeah.
But most of the time, a battery,
Hopefully soon.
most of the time it's about a 4-hour backup.
Hopefully soon, meaning like
I would
2
be
to 3
remiss
years.
not to ask if we're looking at.
No,
this
yeah,
right
yeah,
now,
yeah,
100 days without power.
What about mealtime? Not storage. but
No, because the reason why that happens when power goes out, PG&E, it's called an ATS. It's an automatic transfer switch. It actually turns off the solar because when they're working on the lines, just like they did right over here, and we had pictures of it. When they're working on the lines, you don't want power going back through the lines to cause more of a safety concern for the workers fixing the power. So they actually turn it off when the power goes down on that specific site. And that's what it's called, an ATS switch, which is included in our proposal because we have to due to PG&E guidelines.
That shuts you off from the grid.
Shuts you off from the grid. You can't use it on your site either. So, okay.
I gotta say, one day batteries would be fantastic, because I do have a battery at my house and it was fantastic. It's you're very smart about where that battery actually, electrifies and, keep your Wi-Fi going, keep certain outlets open.
Critical infrastructure.
Kitchen,
Your refrigerator.
yeah.
All of our.
We're seeing-
Commercial kitchens.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of districts do what is called a docking station. So it's not a full generator set, but it's a docking station that's color coordinated with wires. And then they can bring a portable generator on that site when it goes down and connect it easily. And that way you buy less generators for specific, for all of it. So there's some interesting without doing a larger investment, there's a way to get that done. I mean, as we get to the numbers here, with solar HVAC, I mean, solar was a wish before in terms of this. Now it's included even below the numbers for the HVAC estimates before. So, there's other things that you could consider when you're looking at power resiliency. There's multiple different options. And that's something that we can always look at, maybe as an add or as a possible, next phase, because there are some deadlines and timelines to what we're looking at.
So you can't like have the best of both worlds where you switch it off from the main power and then like plug it in somewhere else to operate your school.
The inconsistent loads throughout, things would pop, breakers would pop. It's not, you'd have to set up your own microgrid. You'd have to have the solar sized for the entire, it's far more complex than, So moving on, here are pictures of carport structures that have been recently completed as well. San Benito Union High School District, and then another closer to the playground there as well. So just wanted to show more pictures in terms of what these arrays look like typically. Next slide. So for specifics here, Burlingame Intermediate, looking at the northern parking lot, and obviously it's a great place for that to be installed, and then also at the amphitheater. Not necessarily over all the seating, but as much as we can structurally, that DSA will approve to be, over and shade as much as possible, especially the top area of that area as well. So that's where everything's proposed to be going at this point in time. Next slide. Franklin, over the Foursquare, just like some of the pictures that we just showed. Over the Foursquare, and again, the pillars run right down the middle, so there's not too much in the way for the students. So for this array, it'd potentially be 3 columns going up, so they can play around that. It wouldn't be over the Foursquare, etc. Or we can restripe things like that, is what typically districts do. But this would be the area that's been considered and vetted a few times for the site. Lincoln.
What's the lifespan of the panels?
Lifespan is 30 years of the entire system. The Lincoln.
Those energy savings that sort of match the costs, is that over 30 years or is that?
So that life cycle savings number, which we'll get to, is savings over the life of the equipment. Since mainly this is coming from renewable energy, you're correct. It's over 30 years.
Okay.
But the solar panels don't go away at 30 years, like you all know that they continue to produce, just we can only account for savings up to 30 years.
Okay.
Yep. And then here on Lincoln, and why this is on the roof compared to the other sites is specifically because of the space constraints here, not being able to put it on the basketball court, not being able to put it, over that football play area. And then we also have to say 10, 20 feet away from the buildings. And so unable to actually get closer to the facilities in that corner as well. So that's why this is proposed for being on the roof.
And to my understanding, if not all school roofs have solar.
In terms of the design of the roof?
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Southern facing best, less panels, more production.
And just structurally,
Yeah, so like Lincoln could handle it, but not all roofs.
correct,
Like we couldn't just switch it.
correct.
Correct.
Because of the roof.
Because if you move it
structure.
from here, then it doesn't benefit this site for the added air conditioning mode at this site. Yeah, so that's also a consideration of locations.
I mean, like at some of the other school sites where maybe it's like, well, it's not really doing much on the field shade wise, let's put it on the roof, but you can't just do that because
Correct.
the structure of,
And mainly because of what's on the roof already,
oh, that's.
the lack of space even on the roof
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, in phase 1, we did 100% all roof mounted.
Yeah.
Solar, so
For the load of the
unfortunately,
time.
unfortunately, you don't have a lot of roof space.
And really a lot of the sites, almost every single school district we're working with, it's shade structures. Even when they have a decision to go in the parking lots, it's shade structures because there's dual purpose. You can put plugins on them for, charging computers, things like that. I mean, it's really been over the last 3 to 4 years, it's really been the shade structures.
Well, a little easier through DSA, the processing, you have their freestanding structure as opposed to having to re-engineer your roof. So we're kind of biting the bullet.
For sure.
We're biting the bullet and saying, okay, to get it at Lincoln, you gotta go on the roof.
You're at McKinley, looking up at the northern part of the property for a shade structure there as well. Obviously, those containers would be moved, but up in that area is currently the location. And at Roosevelt, here in the middle area as well, in terms of another shade structure. And then at Washington, a shade structure here along the fence line there as well. So, and one of the things to note is when you see that south-facing tree, why isn't the array in the southeast corner? Is because that's a neighbor's tree right there, and that would most likely shade the panels for most of the day. So you can't cut it down. Next slide. So currently the funding plan, so with turnkey program together, DSA, DIR, labor, installation, equipment, et cetera, to make the program happen. Preliminary turnkey price of $11 million, life cycle savings, and due to the procurement of this program, the savings has to exceed the price of the project over the life of the project. So it's $11,050,000 in savings calculated over the 30-year period that Trustee Brown mentioned. And then the funding source is currently slated for Measure O for the funding source of this, and a lot of construction would happen over the next 12, 18 months plus for this program. One thing I wanted to mention was the federal funding that we talked about in the owners meeting, the Inflation Reduction Act. So what this is, there's two funding opportunities through the IRA, but they happen after you install the solar PV. So it's more of an incentive. It's more of a retroactive incentive. And just, they're still defining all of the little meticulous rules, but just in rough calculations, it could be from $850,000 to $1 million in terms of money back from the Treasury after the systems are up and running. So that's what we've calculated. It could be higher depending on demographics and some of the other elements associated with the programs, but that would be money coming back for other projects and things that Burlingame would like to look at in the future.
Not included on this slide.
Not included on this slide. That is icing on the cake, above and beyond money coming back to you, and we would help you through that process. We would help you with the paperwork, etc.
And we own the system, we're paying for it.
Correct. This is the best way. This is the best way to do renewable energy, is to pay for it out of your bond dollars. All the savings drops to the bottom line or offsets your additional load that you've been putting up. And just you've obviously heard about NEM 3.0, or what is called the net billing tariff, which starts on April 15th, 2023. So all projects submitted prior to that date would be grandfathered underneath the current net energy metering 2.0 guidelines, which is financially beneficial by 20 to 30% for school districts, individuals, et cetera, to get under. And so that's why we've showed the arrays. That's why we're looking for feedback. We're going to be meeting with site-specific staff next week to really, check the boxes before we submit, because you have to do electrical drawings. You have to fill in that paperwork. You have to submit. You have to do all those different types of elements prior to April 14th. So it's beneficial financially for the district to do that. So that is.
Does the net metering happen by site, or is it for the whole district?
By site.
So that's why it has to be
per meter.
On this, we have a new HVAC system that's using a lot of electricity. We have to have the solar on the same site.
Correct. So net energy metering, how NEM 2.0 is basically to fill the bucket, right, over the entire year. So when you're producing in the summertime as a school district, that's going into a bucket to really offset your expenditures during the cloudy, shoulder, winter months financially, right? At that site. Yes, exactly. But underneath the new tariff, that is going to go to a per month and more of a specific, less financially beneficial credit when you're putting it back onto the grid. So in the summertime, especially when you don't have any school sites, and maybe some ELO and some of these other opportunities, that's when schools are going to really lose a lot of the savings that would be generated underneath NEM 2.0. So the good thing is we're right on time. We're in a good timeline to be able to submit for the NEM 2.0. So our teams are working on it.
Now that Tyler's talked about all the hard stuff, it's the fun stuff, community engagement. We have a whole suite. It's called Climate Tech Community Connect. And we, help the district write press releases, do websites, ribbon cutting ceremonies, flip the switch ceremonies. We involve the students. We just a couple of weeks ago presented at 4 different assemblies for the students. And you can see here, and we bring in solar panels and just really engage the community and the students to the full effect. And then on the next slide is an actual live view of the monitoring system, so you can engage the students as well in the community just to see how much solar is actually being produced at each site and for the district.
We also have curriculum that we give to, and it's all tiered for the right age groups, middle school, elementary. And so we have that curriculum to be able to share with your educational leaders and how to disperse and integrate it into STEM education, into the classrooms, however you see fit, science rooms, things like that. And that's where this data really comes to support that as well, in terms of showing them what renewable energy does and what the district has done.
So as far as next steps, and then we'll open it up for questions. We're here tonight presenting this study session. We'll get some feedback from you, and then we'll work on finalizing the detailed scope of work and funding plan. Submit the NEM 2.0 grandfathering applications by April 14th, and then hopefully be able to bring an info or an action item back for you to consider in May, I believe that we've decided on. And the construction period, as Tyler mentioned, is roughly between 18 to 24 months. And that's just due to supply chain disturbances with getting HVAC. We're in a 24 to 36 week lead time. That used to be 6 to 8 weeks, unfortunately. And some of the electrical components on the solar. So and then getting through DSA as well. So we wanted to open it up for questions and get any feedback that you have.
I should know, but do you do the installation as well, or that we do our own procurement for the installation, or how does that work?
Good question. We're a design build general contractor. And we're utilizing what is called California Government Code 4217, which is the procurement, the savings exceeds the cost of the project, which allows us to implement the program with you. So it's a one-stop turnkey provider. And the benefit of that is when we give you a price in that contract for the scope of work that we're putting it in, even if inflation happens in the market 6 months later, we still hold true to that price of that project. So we are, short answer is yes, we're the implementer of that project. We have in-house engineering to do all the DSA, all the electrical drawings, PG&E interface, all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
The solar layout at Burlingame Middle School or Elementary School is going to be really helpful for parents and graduation, soccer games, all that, because it's so hot there when you're sitting on Burlingame Field.
Too bad Howard left, because he's always complaining about it.
It's
brutal.
Will it cover all of those steps?
No, it won't cover all those steps, just structurally, it's gonna go up and it's gonna go out. And so we just have to be careful with DSA.
Cantilevered or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there won't be any, at least there won't be any post blocking.
No, correct. That is true. We're gonna try to cover as much as we can structurally and, to be able to do it, but it's not gonna be a full custom structure over the entire thing providing change. Just wanna make sure that expectation is known.
Yeah. And will you need to rebuild some of those stairs? I mean, will that be under construction then, or?
Currently, the plan is to have it go down on top, the columns to go up on top so that stairs aren't, disturbed, and then it'll come up and then go up.
Okay.
So you'll be able to sell the tickets to that upper.
Yeah.
corner.
Reserved city.
There'll be a lot of standing space up top, I think. A lot of people will be standing underneath of that. So,
Well, structurally, would you be allowed to have like those retractable awnings? Like at the end of it? So actually, you could go farther, it's not gonna have solar panels on it, but it would actually extend.
Whatever you do after the panels are installed, that is up to you.
I'm looking at Richard, like, is that like possible?
Sounding like my residential client. You want to see this?
During PSA, but, so it is still a T structure. I just want to make sure that that's clear, and it's gonna go out as far as, we can over the steps and shaded, the angle to, towards the sun to hopefully shade most of it. And then after that, we've seen districts that have put more of a fabric. Just gotta be careful of the wind shear on that. So that would be something that this esteemed gentleman to the left of me would help with post implementation.
Right, aftermarket stuff.
Yeah. We'll use deferred maintenance for that.
So unless there's more questions, one bit of summary from the building program standpoint. So as you may or may not recall, the allocation that we have budgeted for this scope is currently approximately $13 million in the budget allocation summary that you've seen without the solar. And so the good news, the feel good story that I'm hearing and Tim and I are hearing is that we're able to achieve all of this scope for approximately $11 million, like Climate Tech is saying. So there's some areas of scope that might not fit within this project. And if that's the case, we have the additional $2 million in that bucket of money to be at least budgeted to be able to cover that remaining scope if necessary. So, it's from my standpoint, it's an all-around feel-good story. We're gonna make a movie about it. We've already asked if, Brad Pitt can star as Tim Ryan. But no, I mean, it's a win-win situation from our standpoint, and I'm not trying to sway anybody. I'm just trying to explain, from the building program standpoint, we had budgeted this. We already presumed that we were going to achieve this scope by engaging Climate Tech. We can get additional solar. We can do a feel-good thing in terms of renewable energy, et cetera, and get the scope that we wanted to achieve from a turnkey provider for less money than we had budgeted previously. One of the reasons that we had budgeted that higher number, as you may recall, is because we had presumed that we may have to increase the electrical system, upgrade the electrical systems at a number of these sites. But by doing the solar, we can avoid that, and so we get those savings.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you you were into the late night. So we appreciate that you rescheduled with us
And they flew up on Tuesday.
oh, wow.
It's
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you.
Don't worry about it. It's all good. Thank you so much for your time.
He was here anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we learn.
This is information.
I guess I would just make a comment. I think we should do it. I think the incentives are pretty significant with the old regime versus the new regime. And yeah.
Yeah, I love solar. Yeah, and battery. Even though I know it's really, really expensive, but it's fantastic.
And Hoover has it already?
No, Hoover's going school, they cannot.
Oh, even in their parking lot?
Too many trees. Too many trees.
You been to that parking lot? I don't think it's done ever.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Hoover, or Beverly Hills School.
Yeah. We considered the play area up on the north side. So that's the only play area you guys have. So fine,
All right, moving on to public hearing. Right, that's
We don't need to give a direction, even though the deadline is April 5th.
They're meeting with the site, is what I understand.
No, because the application can happen without our approval.
Okay.
So
all right.
they are moving forward in good faith that we will be approving the project. So I think saying what the opinions are, to give myself, since Richard left, and the bond team an idea of when we go back to the owners, if this is something, if it sounds like there is not interest, it would be best to not have them move forward.
I think it sounds like everyone is very interested to move forward.
Yeah, sounds very good.
All right, then I'm going to open up the public hearing. Okay, I'd like to open the public hearing at 14.
Oh,
Any comments?
yeah. Clock is wrong.
No comments, President Mudd.
Then I will close the public hearing at 14. And moving on to item 18D, tentative agreement between Burlingame Education Association and Burlingame School District for 2022/2023. This is the voting item. A question or comment they would like to make before motion. Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to? Wait, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
No. Go for it.
I know, I was like, go. Thank you, President Mudd. Tonight we bring forward an additional 3.5% salary increase retroactive to July 1 of 2022 for BEA. This was brought forward last month as a joint sunshine agreement.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move approval of 18D.
I'll second.
Thank you for it. All in favor?
Aye.
There are so many today, and I just want to make sure it's like, I'm not reading the one that we pulled. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Public hearing tentative agreement between Burlingame School District and the California School Employees Association and a Chapter 46 for an additional 3.5% salary increase for the 2022-2023 school year.
No public comments, President Mudd.
Closed at 9:15. All right. Tentative, item 18F, tentative agreement between California School Employees Association, the SPSA, and Burlingame School District for 2022-2023. This is a voting item.
Thank you, President Mudd. Tonight we bring forward a tentative agreement for a 3.5% salary increase retroactive to July 1 of 2020 for CSEA and its chapter 46, I apologize. This came forward last month, and in 22-23, CSEA did have a need to on their contract. So when we offer compensation to BEA, they essentially automatically get it.
I'll make a motion to approve 18.F, the tentative agreement between California School Employees Association and the Burlingame School District for 2022.
Anyone with a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, item 18G, public hearing tentative agreement between Burlingame School District and unrepresented staff for an additional 3.5% salary increase for the 2022-2023 year, opening 9:18. Any comment?
No public comments, President Mudd.
Closing at 9:18. Tentative agreement between unrepresented staff and Burlingame School District for 2022-2023. This is a voting.
Thank you, President Mudd. Tonight I bring forward our last TA of the evening for retroactive salary of 3.5% to our unrepresented staff. This is past practice in our district is that when CSEA and BEA negotiate salary increases, we offer it to our unrepresented staff, who include our administrative assistants, our directors, our coordinators, and our principal.
Anyone have any questions?
I'll move to approve 18H.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
And moving on to item 19, administration, second read board policy. Administration.
Good evening. I am bringing forward the following 3 board policies for the second and final read based on feedback that you all gave me after the first read. The superintendent contract, BP 2121, BP 2140, evaluation of superintendent, and BP 2210, administrative discretion regarding board policy.
Any questions? Comments? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve 19A, second read board policies. I'll second. All in favor? 19B, dual litigation update and approved signing agent.
Okay, good evening. I'm bringing, last one, dual litigation in, we'll pull the exact date so that I can let you know. In August 12th of 2020, Superintendent Malvinitis brought forward an agreement with regards to France Law Group to represent the Burlingame School District in a lawsuit with regards to Jewel. It came before the school board. It is now coming to a point in closing where we need to have a signature to go forward. Tonight, I'm asking that someone be named with regards to a signature going forward. They're asking for somebody that can sign for it. So we just need to approve someone to be a signing agent with regards to the district. Many of the districts around us have started settling in this case against Jewel and have started receiving settlements. The settlements are being used to support to value education and other components, including social emotional learning. So tonight we just need to approve, have a motion to approve a person to be the signing agent for the district with regards to this.
So do we need to choose a person?
Choose a person and is like, yeah, it's,
Okay.
or the sitting person for the superintendent.
Okay. Yeah. So do we need to like nominate?
Nominate and
Okay. So whoever makes the motion needs to say, I'd like to make a motion with
would be the.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve item 19B?
I'll make a motion to approve item 19B, dual litigation update and approve signing agent and nominate interim superintendent Marla Silversmith to be the signing agent.
1 second. All in favor? Okay. And then we pulled transportation item 16AA. The reason I pulled it is just given the recent events with Samstrand, you reference a consultation that will happen.
Sure. So tomorrow at 11:15, there is a meeting with Samstrands that they've asked representatives to come from the district. Historically, it's been a person from the Burlingame Intermediate School. However, I will be attending that. I don't know if you're going to be available. If you can be, it'd be great for you to be able to come too. So I'm going to attend it. Mr. Key from DIS will also be attending. Amanda will be attending. Typically, it was also attended by Safe Routes to School, but we'll both attend. And then, as I said, there's 15 people. It started with literally 5 of us that would attend to have a debrief on what happened on the bus. We've had a lot of questions about the buses, just for historical perspective. The buses do have cameras. That's been a question. There's been a question about if we can have our employees ride the buses. We've checked with 2 different lawyers. They've said absolutely not, because then we assume the responsibility and the duty. There's a question about having volunteers ride buses, which could happen because they're not our employees. So we have done due diligence within our kind of what we can do, and we're still looking into what we can do and still trying to figure out other ideas, meeting with parents and trying to come up with ideas. Amanda and myself, along with Curtis, who oversees and helps support our Power School information system. Kirsten, who helps to push out communication when we need it. We kind of did a little bit of a light debrief here, just in passing, but there were so many things that we could have done better here. In situations when things like that happen with transportation, but we also need to meet with the site to figure out what happens in spaces and figure out that communication plan. But meeting with Samstrands of a larger component is part of that consultation. The consultation that we do for that transportation plan, though, is like literally very short and nothing like that. And so Amanda can talk to that, but I know that that's what you were referencing, like, what is their plan? What does the consultation look like going forward?
Right.
And it's very different than what that plan looks like.
So for the
Yeah.
transportation plan, the consultation, obviously with the legal requirement, so a representative from Sam's Trans attended a CEO consortium meeting at the county office and helped to give us the language to meet those needs, but it was a very short meeting.
That's why you're asking for more information about what we're gonna do differently.
Yeah.
So that's our plan is gonna be very changed.
Okay, great. Okay, that is great.
So, but we do need you to still approve and pass it for us tonight,
Okay,
because it was
yeah,
on consent.
Yes. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve item 16A, transportation. Anyone? Second. All in favor? Okay, public statement related to non-agenda items.
We do have some, President Mudd, and I will read them to you. They came in via email.
Okay.
The first one was submitted by email, via email by Sylvie Hendricks. Hello, and thank you for allowing me to add my input to the superintendent search. I would ask that the future superintendent be as supportive as possible of our community's principals. I do not understand why Erica Gilbert is not continuing, but she has done enormous amounts for our community, our school, and our children. BIS has not had a great reputation for being supportive of our community and children. She, in less than 2 years, has managed to change this. She has brought in fantastic teachers, has united our community in the support of our kids, found solutions to intractable problems, has worked to help individual children in their own personal struggles, and I know so much more. My daughter has excelled in the environment she has created. I think it is urgent that we find a superintendent that would support keeping principals like Erica Gilbert in place. And also, I'd love a superintendent that would reach out to the community to ask for whatever was needed in order to keep those principals. Thank you for considering my input. Next one, submitted via email by Rach Kim. Hello, we have 2 kids in BSD schools with another who will enter next fall. The lack of transparency by the district and board is starting to wear on us parents. Major changes like the superintendent abruptly leaving and now the BIS principal resigning. We'd like to know what's going on. As a side note, Principal Gilbert has done such a great job, and it's upsetting to hear that she will be leaving. Are the decisions being made in the best interest of our kids? At the moment, we are not given any information and just left with incomplete info. So it's very difficult right now to have any confidence in the board and administration. Submitted via email by Debanjan Ray. Dear Burlingame Board of Trustees, thanks for giving parents in the district the opportunity to provide input on the search for the next superintendent. Unfortunately, I will not be able to attend the session tonight, but I really appreciate the opportunity for public comment via email. We've been parents in the BSD since 2017. We now have a 7th grader at Burlingame Intermediate School and a 3rd grader at Hoover. We intentionally moved to Burlingame as our son was reaching school age because of the great things we had heard from friends in the district. And for the most part, we've been very happy with the various Burlingame schools that our kids have attended. I would like to note, however, some recent disappointment with the academic orientation or lack thereof at BIS. I've been disappointed by the slow moving curriculum, the lack of teachers executing on the educational curriculums that they described at back to school night, and generally the lack of homework at BIS. When I reached out to the principal of BIS to discuss this topic, particularly on the lack of homework and my view on the negative implications of our kids not getting reinforcement on what they learn in school each night, the principal replied to me that, quote, the homework issue is an ongoing issue. We have a board policy that we need to follow, end quote. I assume this means that the superintendent has some significant influence on academic requirements and expectations in the BSE and particularly at BIS. In the superintendent search, I think it is very important to prioritize someone that is at least focused on academic well-being, in addition to the emotional well-being of our kids. The majority of our parents send our kids to BSD because we prioritize a great education and preparation for success in high school. And I feel as though the dial has been turned too far away from academics under the current leadership. I'd like us to prioritize a superintendent who is comfortable being more demanding of our kids. Once again, thanks for the opportunity to comment and thanks for considering my feedback. Next one, submitted via email by Nihu Warner. Okay. I feel that Marla, based on my interactions with her, would make a great superintendent. She's kind, patient, great communicator, and cares deeply about students and parents. It's important that we have a superintendent that is supportive of my son, who is trans. With 3 kids in BSD since 2014 and still 3 kids in district, we feel a leader that exhibits love for all. Students in BSD, TK at Franklin, 5th at McKinley, and 8th at BIS. Submitted via email by Jennifer Coolin. The last few superintendents in the Burlingame School District have been polarizing, blazing paths towards a vision that doesn't appear to take the pace of innovation or the importance of experiences into account, or the feedback and input of the administrators and teachers employed by them. Those superintendents seem to have also leaned into conflict and less into community building, trying to drive wedges between BCE and PTAs and have an eye more towards restrictions versus leaning into the experiences our area has to offer. It's time to bring in a fresh perspective to the district, untainted by the past with the strength and innovation. I'd like the new superintendent to find approaches that allow kids to experience education in a way that embraces the nature around us and the innovation and technology inherent in our county. In addition, it is my belief that the next superintendent should have a proven track record with unifying and increasing community engagement. Next comment. Pardon me. Submitted via email by Sari Connell. My name is Sari Connell, and I have been a BSD parent for 15 years and have spent much of the time in parent leadership roles. I would like to see BSD cultivate its leadership from within, generally speaking, and specific to the superintendent selection process. I would like to see special consideration made for internal candidates. We have terrific leadership inside our district, leadership that understands our special culture and community that enables us to do so much more with so much less than other districts have. This knowledge is an invaluable aspect of a superintendent's effectiveness. There is no such thing as a perfect candidate. The superintendent role is a very challenging job, and each person will bring their own strengths to the table. Sometimes it may seem that an external candidate appears stronger, but that's because we don't know where their wants are. Rest assured they have them. An internal candidate ensures that you have a much higher degree of confidence in what you're going to get, and the transition will be smoother, as well as enabling us to stay focused on educating our students rather than drama behind closed doors. Someone who is already aligned with our culture is the best person for the job. This establishes the trust and confidence among staff, parents, and other stakeholders that is absolutely fundamental to being an effective superintendent. The best candidate for superintendent is someone you already know. And I would think it would be a morale booster to staff to know that they might also have advancement potential from within the district. Submitted via email by Tui Fan. This is my experience with your interim superintendent when she helped to conduct investigation to my complaints. She wasn't able to do a good job to be transparent and fair and follow the law or whatever she should as an interim superintendent. She wasn't able to speak up and tell the truth of the finding facts. She lied in her response and avoided the facts that I gave. And I have been told there were many cases that the parents' voice weren't heard. I don't believe she meets requirements for this important position. We need someone to do the job at their best and have a better skills to be a leadership. Your decision will make the difference and change for this better community. This is the last one. Submitted via email by Daniel Bird. We, the members of the Burlingame Education Association, hereby submit the following statement. After a majority vote, our association gives public support to support Marla Silversmith to be our next superintendent of Burlingame schools. Please see the attached image for polling data. Thank you. So if you want to pass it around, this is a picture of pardon me, a poll. And it says, the question was, I, a dues paying member of BEA, vote the following. There were 116 responses. In blue, you'll see, yes, I vote to declare public union support for Marla Silversmith to be BSD's next superintendent. That percentage was 89.7%. The red piece of the pie is 10.3%, and it says, no, I vote to not declare public union support for Marla Silvers Smith to be the BSD's next superintendent. That's the last of the comments, President.
Thank you for reading those. That's a
Yeah.
lot.
I have a board requested item. Should it go after we come back from closed or should I? No. Okay. I was hoping that after you do your debrief and have your findings and recommendations, if you would be able to, and there's transparency, report out and share the changes that, or once you debrief with us and share what you've learned and
You're talking about transportation plan?
I'm talking about actually like they're gonna debrief after all of the incidents that happened at BIS Thursday and Friday. So after they meet with all of that leadership to come back and share with us.
There were two different things that happened.
There was a fight on Sandstrand and then there was a fight at BIS.
I just felt like those were the same. But so you want.
But there were things that happened on the BIS campus that highlighted areas that we could improve communication and procedures. And I think that in this debrief, they'll be talking about those things, and I would love to know what we learned from the debrief and what we can do better.
Can I maybe rephrase it?
Yep.
So I think what you're asking for is an overall safety update. So maybe after our debrief, maybe a learning on updates on our safety, our learnings on our safety from this chain of events. Okay, does that sound kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I support that. And I guess I think the communication element was a part of it as well, like just communicating out in as close to real time as when necessary around safety issues, right?
So as a part of as a part of the safety, I think it's under the safety plan, and safety plans are coming in April.
Just gonna say that.
That was our last board.
Yeah.
Full
Right.
amount of consent.
Full amount of consent.
And so we will have the principals here to report on the safety plans.
So maybe what we could do, Amanda, what do you think about if we did as part of the site safety plans, we could also update our district safety plan, including the communication plan rollout. Would that kind of be the request?
Yeah.
Is there three of you?
Yeah.
In regards to that, okay.
I'm thinking to communication within the school and communication out of the school. All right, so we have 3. All right, so, so I need to do anything official to make that happen? No, okay, then I will recess us to close at 9:37.